I call to order the regular meeting of the Lakewood City Council on September 22nd at 6:04 p.m. To connect with the council meeting online, please use one of the following links, lakewoodspeaks.org or lakewood.org/council videos. For online public comments, you may post comments of any length to lakewoodspeaks.org. That is our online forum for public comments, and also where you can find any supporting information for any of the items that we're discussing this evening. We will be leaving our online public comments open through tonight and until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Anyone who would like the opportunity to address the City Council will be given multiple opportunities throughout tonight's evening, depending on what it is that you're here to speak about, and I'll try to walk you through that as we move through tonight. Will the clerk please start us off by calling the roll?
Mayor Strom.
Here.
Councilors LeBure.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Cruz K.
Here.
Maya Guerrero.
Here.
Sharazai.
Here.
Sinks.
Here.
Cruz I.
Here.
Lowe.
Here.
Berman.
Here.
Nystrom.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, and this is the moment that if you are able, I would ask you to stand and please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Once done, please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. All of the members of the City Council have the responsibility to comply with the terms of Charter 7.2B and excuse themselves from voting on any matter in which they determine they have a personal, financial, or business interest. The City Council is empowered by Charter 7.2B to agree by unanimous vote, excluding the member at issue, to excuse any member of the council from voting on a matter in which they determine such member has a personal, financial, or business interest. All right, and with that, we shall commence not only my favorite part of the evening, but my favorite meeting of the year. This is an opportunity tonight for us to really shine a light on some of the great work that is and has been going on around the Lakewood community. And with that, we'll kick ourselves off with the Mayor's Inspiration Award.
Thank you, Mayor Strom. My name is Angie
Recording
Ramirez.
in progress.
I'm the communications manager for the City of Lakewood, and today I'm filling in for PIO Dan Stoudemeyer. He couldn't be here tonight, but I do want to give him a big shout out for all of his hard work to make this award ceremony really special for our amazing winners. Tonight, we recognize 9 outstanding individuals, businesses, and organizations who have made their mark in Lakewood. Winners were selected by committee of residents and city staff, along with final review by Mayor Strom. This award was created in 2017 at the recommendation of the Lakewood Advisory Commission to highlight the contributions of outstanding community members, and it has been held every year since, with the exception of COVID. Without further ado, we'll begin by recognizing this year's individual recipients. So first up, we have Jerry Hilton. Jerry, please come up. Jerry is the current leader of the Elks Lodge on West Colfax. In his time there, he has focused on veteran assistance, providing clothing, bedding, and furniture to formerly homeless veterans. He comes to every event and community gathering with a smile on his face. Thank you, Jerry. Up next, we've got Felix Cook Sr. Felix is being recognized in memoriam this evening by his wife, Dr. Margie Cook, who will be receiving his award. Mr. Cook was a more than 50-year resident of Lakewood and rose from beginnings in a one-room schoolhouse. Mr. Cook was recognized by council resolution last March, shortly after his passing. He truly led an incredible life in Lakewood, and we were extremely lucky to have him as part of our community. Thank you, Dr. Cook. Up next, we've got Amber Varwig.
She is running a few minutes late.
Okay, we will move on and loop back to Miss Varwig. Up next, we've got Doug and Judy Whitten. Doug and Judy are fixtures of the Southern Gables community. They are pivotal in distributing neighborhood dues to deserving people. And organizations, and organize the annual National Night Out event. In addition, they help hold a leaf pickup event in the fall for people who can't do it themselves. Thank you for your neighborly kindness, Doug and Judy. Up next, we've got Ellen Rucker. Ellen has run a food pantry and clothing bank out of Mount Terre Christian Church every week for the past 8 years and does it with enthusiasm and joy. Regardless of weather, she is out there helping people who need help. Her efforts aid more than 200 people every month. Thank you for your selfless service, Ellen. All right, there are 2 organizations that were selected by the committee. First up, we've got the 40 West Arts District. Created in 2011, the 40 West Arts District has done much to change the trajectory and perception of the West Colfax corridor through programs like the 40 West Art Line, First Friday events, artists in residence, curated at the Mills collaboration with Colorado Mills Mall, and more. There's much more to say about them, but we are limited by time, so it suffices to say that we are humbled by the passionate commitment to service of the 40 West team, and we are lucky to work alongside them. Thank you for all that you do. Up next, we've got the Chanda Center for Health. The Chanda Center for Health and their founder, Chanta Hinton, have been a force of good in the disability community for 20 years. Pulling from her own life experience, Ms. Hinton and the center use integrative therapies and services to improve quality of life, reduce costs, and increase autonomy for those with disability. They have instrumentally shaped the healthcare landscape in the state of Colorado and showing the importance of accessibility and equity. Unfortunately, Chanda isn't able to join us tonight, but we have Oliver and Scott from the Chanda Center team here to accept the award. Thank you, Chanda and the Chanda Center. Our final 2 recipients come from Lakewood's proud business community. First, we've got Westera Credit Union. Westera Credit Union was founded by teachers and has always understood the important role of education. In Lakewood, they've supported STEM-focused special education programs at Lakewood High School and funded classroom supply drives at Slater and Westgate Elementary School. They have also tailored financial literacy programs for kids, fraud prevention seminars for seniors, and more, expanding into Spanish language programs where they've identified a gap. Thank you for your stewardship of the whole community, Westera Credit Union. Our final winner is another local business, VL Builders. This Lakewood-based company has jumped headfirst into volunteerism, partnering with the local Kiwanis group on toy drives for kids, creating handmade gifts for local seniors, volunteering with Food Bank of the Rockies, and more. In Lakewood, they supported the police department's recent pancake breakfast, and the team actively seeks out ways to connect with the local community. Thank you for your spirit of volunteerism. Ms. Barwick here? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. So we will loop back to honor Amber Varwig. So Amber Varwig has been a longtime advocate for the less fortunate in Lakewood. She is the founder of the Lakewood Left Mutual Aid Group, which has a community meal every Friday for people experiencing homelessness. They make sure no one walks away hungry, and she and the group have been instrumental in ensuring people have shelter on especially cold nights. Thank you for your life-saving work, Amber.
So we will recess in just a second for a bit to celebrate and honor all of you award recipients. And with that, I will say all of the recipients of the City of Lakewood who have been have received all of the amazing work that you guys have done. It is no small feat. Many of the things that came through this nomination are events that we're putting together over and over and over again. And over the years, the cumulative factor of putting together all of these opportunities for community to come together, meet each other, build relationships that will, for the future, help them into the future, I should say. Thank you so much. You know, it is, having a thriving community is not just about city staff doing the jobs that they have or the city council doing the jobs that they have. It really, really requires all of us to show up and be part of that solution, part of that community that we want to live in. So for those of you that are embodying that every single day, thank you so much. And with that, we will go ahead and recess. It is 6:16. We'll recess for 15 minutes. So we'll come back here at 6:31. Okay, I call the meeting back to order at 6:37 p.m. And next we have one of two proclamations that we'll be reading this evening. Our first proclamation will go to representatives from the Jefferson County Food Policy Council. I have Nemo Salom. Okay.
Right.
And Mandy Gallagher?
Maybe.
Okay, we will go ahead and move to proclamation number 2, recognizing cybersecurity. And I will go ahead and step down to the lectern with both of you. And we've got Counselor Sinks that will read this into the record for us.
Start now.
We'll wait till I get there. Okay.
2025 National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Whereas National Cybersecurity Awareness Month emphasizes making cybersecurity a shared responsibility and empowering our community with knowledge and resources to protect their digital lives and promote safe online practices. And whereas the City of Lakewood relies on digital information systems to support essential functions, emergency response, and public safety services. And whereas advances in technology bring increasing threats of cyber attacks that can cause financial losses and privacy breaches. And whereas education and collaboration enhance our cybersecurity posture, encouraging vigilance and proactive behaviors to prevent cyber incidents. And whereas the City of Lakewood is dedicated to identifying, preventing, and responding to cyber attacks to protect sensitive information and ensure operational continuity. And whereas, as we observe the 21st anniversary of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we recognize the progress in cybersecurity education, the need for ongoing vigilance, and the professionals protecting our digital world. And whereas the City of Lakewood joins the nation in recognizing October as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, now, therefore, on behalf of the City Council and the people of the City of Lakewood, the Mayor, Wendy Strom, by virtue of the authority invested in her, does hereby proclaim October 25th as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Yay!
Now I know. Do you have our names? Mandy
Yeah.
Gallagher, I think, and Nemo Salom.
Yep. And Nemo Selim. And Mandy, are you? Yeah. Come on down.
Okay. 2025 Hunger Action Month. Whereas food is a basic human need and right, essential to the health, well-being, and prosperity of all residents. And whereas an estimated 1 in 13 Jefferson County residents struggles with food insecurity, lacking consistent access to sufficient nutritious food. Whereas the impacts our food insecurity in Jefferson County has been exacerbated by rising costs of living, loss of federal support, systemic inequities, and limited access to affordable, healthy food in parts of the county. And whereas the impacts of food insecurity are not experienced equally, disproportionately affecting low-income households, communities of color, immigrants and refugees, older adults, and people with disabilities. And whereas Jefferson County is home to a wide array of food assistance providers, community-based organizations, public agencies, and local food producers who are working tirelessly to reduce hunger and increase access to healthy, culturally relevant, and locally grown food. And Whereas local food pantries, WIC clinics, school nutrition programs, and farmers markets and mutual aid groups report increasing demand and greater complexity in meeting the needs of the communities they serve. And whereas local producers are advancing innovative approaches to food access and food justice while facing their own challenges in land access, infrastructure, and economic viability. And whereas Jefferson County Food Policy Council, Feeding Jeffco Together, and community partners continue to lead and support efforts that strengthen the local food system, promote food sovereignty, and ensure all residents can thrive. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City Council and the people of the City of Lakewood, Wendy Strom, Mayor of the City of Lakewood, Colorado, by the virtue of the authority vested in her, do hereby proclaim September 25th, 2025 as Hunger Action Month.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council, and community members. My name is Anemone or Nemo Salome. My pronouns are they, them, and I serve as a community organizer for the Jefferson County Food Policy Council. Our council brings together partners and community members to strengthen Jefferson County's food system, and one of the ways we do that is by creating collaborative solutions to end hunger. We have more than 350 members, including community members experiencing food insecurity, food pantries responding to the need, farmers growing food here in Jeffco, youth learning to advocate, and many others. On behalf of the council and our partners, I want to thank you for issuing this proclamation recognizing Hunger Action Month. It sends a powerful message that hunger is a community issue, and together we can be the solution. I am also excited to share a brand new initiative we've developed alongside food pantries in Jeffco. Over the past year, pantry leaders came together with one vision, a single place to donate and support food security across the county. This September, during Hunger Action Month, we launched Feeding Jeffco Together, a collaborative fundraiser benefiting 10 food pantries in Jeffco. These food justice organizations are on the front lines every day, ensuring that families from Lakewood to Littleton to Conifer have enough to eat. And now, for the first time, there is one place to give that supports all of them. The collective impact of these 10 pantries is extraordinary. Last year, they served 336,000 individuals with more than 4.3 million pounds of food, all with just over $500,000. And this wasn't just canned goods. Their offerings included fresh produce, proteins, and other nutritious options. Feeding Jeffco Together shows what's possible when we pool our resources, and that's efficiency, impact, and lives changed. But we know that needs are rising. More than 1 in 10 Jeffco residents, including 1 in 8 children, are food insecure. Families are making impossible choices between food, rent, and healthcare. Recent federal cuts to food programs that support pantries are already having devastating effects here, and looming cuts to SNAP and Medicaid will make this crisis even worse. To put this into perspective, last year, Feeding America food banks provided 6 billion meals, but SNAP delivered 9 times that amount. As federal support shrinks, the burden to meet basic needs shifts to local communities, and our pantries are being asked to serve more and more people with fewer resources than ever. Food insecurity cannot be seen as a single issue, but as part of a broader conversation about how our cities and towns can meet community needs holistically. Food is directly connected to housing, which is connected to jobs, which in turn are connected to education, transportation, and all of the social needs we encounter on a daily basis. To make real progress, we must create programs and policies that address these needs from the ground up so that everyone benefits and the impact is as wide-reaching as possible, rather than approaching each issue in a piecemeal, and isolated way. This is also why we've worked alongside the redress movement to develop Lakewood's Justice and Resilience Plan, connecting food security with broader systems change. Through Feeding Jeffco Together, your donation goes further. By pooling resources, our pantries stretch every dollar to feed more families than one could do alone. A gift of even $5 feeds one Jeffco family for a day. And together, those small acts add up to thousands of meals for those in need. I invite everyone here, council and community members alike, to take action. Please consider making a gift to this fundraiser within your networks. And then to learn more or donate, you can visit coloradogives.org/event/feedingjeffco. Thank you.
Thank you. Lakewood's Bear Creek Trail Improvement Project is the winner of the 2025 Colorado Lottery Starburst Award. The award highlights outstanding projects that have been funded through lottery proceeds, showcasing the positive impact these projects have on communities across the state. In addition, the project is the 2025 Colorado Lottery People's Choice Award winner. In case you didn't catch that, it was two awards for the Bear Creek Trail. The Bear Creek Trail project was one of 14 projects in the state to receive the 2025 Colorado Lottery Starburst Award and was then eligible for the 2025 People's Choice Award. Thanks to Lakewood's residents and visitors, Lakewood won the People's Choice Awards by only 13 votes, beating out the Hanging Lakes Restoration Project, which is a testament to the residents' support for Lakewood Parks. And I promise I only voted one time. So with that, we do have a short presentation on this topic.
The Bear Creek Trail is located within the Bear Creek Greenbelt, a 350-acre open space park on the south side of the city of Lakewood. The 7-mile trail begins near C-470 and Morrison Road and extends east to Wadsworth Boulevard in Denver, serving as an important regional connection. The popular trail hosts over 450,000 people each year for walking, biking, hiking, fishing, horseback riding, and other forms of recreation. The attraction of a diverse range of user groups has led to increased use and conflicts on the trail, originally built in the 1980s. Thanks to generous grant funding from Jefferson County Open Space, the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and Lakewood's Tabor Fund, the Bear Creek Trail Improvement Project is well underway. The project includes replacing damaged concrete and widening the trail from 8 feet to 10 feet, bridge replacement for better safety and maintenance access, and the addition of a 3 to 6 foot soft surface trail which runs parallel to the concrete trail and meanders through new portions of the Greenbelt for a unique user experience. The added benefits are providing separation between trail users, a soft surface alternative, and increased interaction with nature.
All right, and I'd like to introduce now Adrienne Varney, the proceeds manager from the Colorado Lottery. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Whew, Mother Nature's not kidding out there. It is fall right now. Hi, thank you so kindly for having me today. My name's Adrienne. I'm the proceeds manager for the Colorado Lottery. I'm so honored to be here to celebrate the Bear Creek Trail renovations and to recognize it as one of this year's Colorado Lottery Starburst Awards. At the Colorado Lottery, our charge is simple but impactful. It's to maximize proceeds for parks, trails, open space, and schools, and to do that responsibly so that every single ticket sold becomes an investment in Colorado's future. Since 1983, the Colorado Lottery has returned more than $4.5 billion to Colorado, all over the state. And all of those dollars, every single one of them, go right back into communities, funding those outdoor experiences that we all love so much about living in this state. What makes our lottery so unique is that every single ticket sold, whether it's a scratch ticket or a Powerball, is more than just playing a game. It's an investment in Colorado's outdoors and our quality of life. And we are the only lottery in the entire world that 100% of our primary proceeds go back to protecting and enhancing our outdoor experiences in the state. And the rest, I said primary proceeds, all the extra goes to schools. So it's pretty amazing. The Starburst Awards is an annual award program that recognizes the most innovative and excellent use of those lottery proceeds all over the state. Each year, hundreds of projects are eligible, and to date, less than 3%. So a very small handful, less than 3% of projects have been recognized with this honor. The Bear Creek Trail stands out not just because it's in my backyard, so thank you for that. The Bear Creek Trail stands out because its improvements are about so much more than concrete and bridges. They embody the lottery's mission to connect people, communities, and the outdoors. It's truly a reflection of the lottery's core values. That being said, I'm so proud to honor the Bear Creek Trail improvements and the City of Lakewood with a 2025 Starburst Award. But I'm not done yet. This project, just to speak a little bit more to it, is everything the Starburst Awards are meant to highlight. It's a creative, impactful project, and it's creative and impactful use of lottery proceeds that make everyday life better for Coloradans. It breathed new life into the trail, creating more space for families, cyclists, neighbors to enjoy the Greenbelt together while caring for the natural ecosystems that make it so special. That video you guys just showed when Amber sent it to me, I just so appreciated the work and the science that went into protecting the riparian areas that are around the Greenbelt, because that is just as important as recreation here in the state. At the lottery, we often say every ticket tells a story, and this project shows that when you play the lottery, you're not just playing a game, you're helping to revitalize our beloved community spaces. Bear Creek Trail is one of those stories, and it's a powerful example of what's possible when we invest in the places that make Colorado so special. The result is a trail that better serves the community, supports healthier lifestyles, and ensures that one of Lakewood's most beloved greenways continues to thrive for generations to come. But that's not all. Last year, we started an inaugural People's Choice Award. This is a contest that we open up to all of our Starburst Awards winners on an annual basis now. We open it up to all Coloradans to vote. The voting was open for the entire month of July, and I am so proud. I don't have the plaque or the trophy yet, but I'm so proud to let you guys know that this trail won out of all the 14 projects that were Starburst Award recipients this year. And Hanging Lake was also another Starburst Award recipient this year. And Amber and her team at the City of Lakewood, they activated the community. There were signs on the trails. They were talking to talking through social media about the value of this work that's being done and how important it is, this lottery funding in the state. And I will tell you what, there was more than 13,000 votes, and this one won by 13 votes. Hanging Lake was second, and they didn't even have to advertise at all. So my hat 100% goes off to the City of Lakewood, Amber and the City of Lakewood. I was literally biting my nails. The voting closed at midnight, and I was like logging in, just 11:58, just because it was neck and neck the whole time. But you guys received more votes than the first place and the second place projects from last year. So it was. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to be able to beat Hanging Lake just because everyone knows what Hanging Lake is. So huge congratulations to all of you guys and to you guys for getting the word out there. So I'm finally out of words. On behalf of the Colorado Lottery, everything we stand for, and me, just as a resident of Jefferson County, thank you so much for all the work you do. I appreciate it. You guys make my job as amazing as it is. So proof that, once again, when you play the lottery, everybody wins. So congratulations.
Thank you. Shall I come up? Maybe we can do one picture with both?
Yeah. Sorry, this was a little wet. It was pouring down. That's right.
This is the first point in tonight's meeting where the public is invited to address the City Council on items not on this evening's agenda. This initial period of public comment allows for up to 10 speakers to provide comment on any matter other than an agenda item, and will prioritize those with special needs. Speaking during this initial period of public comment does require signing up with the city clerk in advance of the meeting. There is no pooling of time during the initial public comment period. The goal of public comment is to create an environment that welcomes all stakeholders to share their thoughts and concerns. Whether your comments are left on Lakewood Speaks or here in Chambers, I ask that all comments be directed to the City Council, that anyone in attendance or online respect the decorum of council chambers and practice civility. And so that every speaker may be heard, I ask that everyone here in Chambers refrain from applause or any audible support or discord with any speaker, so that everyone may be heard. For anyone who in the audience that may be uncomfortable speaking in front of the room, you too are welcome to leave a comment online on lakewoodspeaks.org instead, if that would feel more comfortable. Anyone will be able to leave public comments on Lakewood Speaks until 10 a.m. tomorrow. Please note, when coming up here, that no campaigning is allowed during public comment. Per Lakewood's campaign finance law, city resources are not able to be used for campaigning, and that includes tonight's meeting. If you are speaking and have any handouts you'd like to share with the City Council, please provide them directly to the city clerk, and they will be distributed to the council following the meeting. The purpose of this time tonight is for us to hear from you. This is a listen-only session. If you would like to engage in a conversation with your counselors, staff, or myself, you may do so via phone, scheduled office visits, or in email. For those planning to speak tonight, when you arrive up here at the microphone, please start by stating your name and address, or your name and ward, and you'll notice there's a clock on here that shows your time. Once you say your name and address, name and ward, we'll get the clock started. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. We do have a number of community members that are here and a full agenda tonight, so I will need to stay pretty tight on our 3 minutes. So I would ask for everybody to work with me on that and try to get us through in 3 minutes. We only have a few speakers for this initial period, but that includes for our conversations later this evening as well. So I will now call the names signed up for initial portion of public comment. And again, please, as you approach the lectern, I'd ask that you start by saying your name and address, or your name and ward. Our first speaker tonight will be Charlie Hancock. Second, we have Benjamin Smith. And then third, Carol Pensiero. Charlie Hancock. Okay, no Charlie Hancock. Benjamin Smith.
Hello, hello. My name is Benjamin Smith. I'm from Ward 3. Mayor Strom and members of council, thank you for having me back here again. Probably starting to recognize me, and I'm recognizing all of you. So thank you again for hearing what I have to say, and I hope that it is being genuinely considered. So I'd like to go back in time a little bit to how I got on this journey of appealing to the council for help with my situation of a very troublesome, noisy, dangerous, fast moving West Mississippi Avenue right next to my house. I moved into that house in July of 2022. When my wife and I toured the house, we did not hear any noticeable noise. We thought it was fine. And in any case, the interest rates were going crazy, and we had to get a place, and that's what we got. I would like to say, I've heard some people say you shouldn't have moved in there if you know it's your problem because you should have known it was busy and noisy. And I reject that really emphatically. I think that's extremely dangerous for any government to take that approach, because the government of any jurisdiction should care about all of its residents. All houses in a city should be livable. If we don't have that value, we have no values at all as a city. I would like to say, starting in October of 2022, almost exactly 3 years ago, I started talking with Mike Whitaker, the transportation engineer at the city. Initially, he did recognize that the speed limit of West Mississippi Avenue is higher than the default from the state, which would be 30 miles per hour. He tied it to the collector roadways, tied the speed of collector roadways with that of the local residential streets. Those residential streets have now decreased recently from 30 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour, and correspondingly, the collectors can and should have their speed limits decreased by the same amount from 35 to 25. Also, Kyle Kemmermeyer at the city, I had worked with him in December 2023 to get a crosswalk put in, and he came out and said he didn't see anybody jaywalking, so he couldn't do anything. So I just want to say that sets a really bad precedent and sends the wrong message that we have to break the law and be seen by the city breaking law in order to change the law. So anyway, my time is really flying here. I will be back. I appreciate all your attention. Thank you for your help. Bye.
Thank you. Carol Pensiero, and then Connie Reddick. Okay, Ms. Reddick, you're up.
Good evening. My name is Connie Reddick. I'm in Ward 3, and I live at 500 South Reed Street at Cityscape. And I've come to you for several years on the problems that the building is having and of the treatment of 88 people that live there and the elderly. The last time I came, I told you how the building had water that went in and caused the circuit breakers to go off, and a woman died because of it. We've had, in the last couple of weeks, several ambulance and several fire department come to Cityscape because of the problems the building is having. And nobody seems to care about the elderly or the disabled and their needs. And I find it that it's okay for City Council not to look into all the laws that are being broken, but I had this to say, excuse me. You see that door right there? It's been this is the third session that I have been to, and even the doors don't work. This isn't even ADA equivalent to what should be going on. Also, coming down these ramps, it isn't ADA sufficient. It seems that for some reason, people think it's okay to not deal with the laws. They think it's okay to discriminate against the disabled and the elderly. In my building, it is known that Councilman Roger is a part owner of that, and he only lives 2 doors from us. And why he cannot come and see all these ambulances and all these people coming in and not do anything about it. I've asked the city person that does the inspections to come inspect the building so they could look into the problems that are going on with the building. Nobody seems to care whether, if it was your mother, your sister, or your loved one, you would be furious. But because it's not, you could care less what happens to the elderly or the disabled. For me not to have an ADA apartment is ridiculous. It's ridiculous for me not to have a refrigerator, and then when they do give me one from some dead woman's house, which is dirty, and nobody gets that. Because I have been a spokesman and I have been an advocate since I was 17 years old, and I have changed a lot of laws in order to help you and your families. I feel it's despicable the way I have to live. Also, I owned property and it was stolen from me, and also—
Ms. Reddick, your time is up.
Okay, so the law's been broken in my case, and somebody needs to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and that ends our initial period of public comment this evening. We'll move on to tonight's consent agenda. Do I have any items that council wishes to request to be removed from the consent agenda? Councilor Cruz.
Thank you. I would request removing 7F from the consent agenda. Am I in the right section? The IGA?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
7F, Resolution 2025-61, approving the intergovernmental agreement with Jefferson County and parties. Any others? Okay, seeing none, will the clerk please read the amended consent agenda into the record?
The amended consent agenda is comprised of the following items. Item 7A, R 2025-56, approving the 2026 budget for the Alameda Corridor Business Improvement District. Item 7B, R 2025-57, approving the 2026 operating plan for the Alameda Corridor Business Improvement District. Item 7C, R 2025-58, approving the 2026 budget for the Lakewood West Colfax Business Improvement District. Item 7D, R 2025-59, approving the 2026 operating plan for the Lakewood West Colfax Business Improvement District. Item 7E, R 2025-60, approving the nomination of Ryan McNeil for the appointment to the Board of Directors for the Lakewood West Colfax Business Improvement District. Ordinances on first reading. Item 8A, O 2025-30, amending the Lakewood zoning code by repealing the existing zoning map, replacing it with a new zoning map, and rezoning properties thereby. Item 9A, approving City Council meeting minutes from the regular City Council meeting June 9th, 2025.
Okay, thank you. I do have one speaker signed up to speak on the consent agenda this evening. Mr. Compton, were you wanting to talk about the other one? Okay, perfect. Do we have any other speakers that wish to speak on the consent agenda tonight? Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public comment on that. And with that, I do have one hand up to speak. Councilor Ryan.
I just want to say that I'm very appreciative of our 2 business improvement districts. They have very slim, very difficult budgets, and they managed to do an incredible amount with very little. And so I just want to express an appreciation to both the Alameda Corridor and the West Colfax Business Improvement Districts.
Okay, seeing no other hands up, please go ahead and cast your vote. Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion.
Mayor Strom, I move for the approval of the City Council minutes. Order all ordinances introduced on first reading to be published in the Denver Post with public hearing set for the date included in the ordinance, and for adoption of resolutions, all of which are included in the consent agenda items introduced into the record by the city clerk.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other hands up? Okay, please go ahead and cast your votes. Councilor Ryan, can you maybe vote again? It's not showing up. Weird. And now we got 12. I'll clear and let's go ahead and we'll just revote. Okay, please vote again. Perfect. Now we're at 11. That passes 11 yeses and 0 nos. Okay, for our item that was removed from the consent agenda, item 7F, will the clerk please read that into the record?
Item 7F, R 2025-61, approving an intergovernmental agreement with Jefferson County, the City of Arvada, the City of Edgewater, the City of Golden, the City of Westminster, and the City of Wheat Ridge regarding regional cold weather response for those experiencing homelessness.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to give a little bit of background on this topic because there's not been, I would say, as many maybe public conversations as are on some of our other topics. But back in March, Lakewood had asked that we have a facilitated conversation with all of our partners across the county to address homelessness and more specifically, well, I don't know that, I guess I'm not sure we were asking specifically for cold at the time, but to come up with a more strategic and coalesced plan that allows the entire county to work together in a more efficient way to address homelessness and our residents that are unhoused, most specifically during cold weather. And so with that, we got together with most of the cities, if not all of them, across Jefferson County, including our county commissioners and county staff, later in the spring, to come up with a solution. So tonight is a result of that conversation, and it is a one-year plan. So more work to do, more work coming ahead, but for the most part, well, for all the part, like we really, the more urgent part of it was to make sure that we have a plan in place for winter 2025 to 2026. So wanted to give everybody a little bit of a background on that. We're very excited. There's still more work to do. However, this is the first time in the history of our city that we have had a plan, an agreement that has spanned the entire county, that shares the work that is being done and as well the costs that are being spent to do this work. So we're excited that it's been kind of a long process this year, but excited that we're now able to get something on in front of us before it is cold so that we have a plan when it gets cold. So with that, I do have one public comment. Mr. Comden, there you are. Would anyone else like to speak on item 7F that is not signed up? Okay. Mr. Comden, the floor is yours.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to ask for you to ask questions of this agreement because I'm not actually sure what's in it, so I have no idea whether it's a good one or a bad one. Yeah, that was all. That's all I ask, and I'm glad that it was polled. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, may we have a motion?
Mayor, I move for the adoption of Resolution 2025-61.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. And do we have any questions? Councilor Isabel Cruz.
Thank you. Yes, I would love to ask a couple of questions about this for the public. Who should I direct those to, Ms. Hudson?
I'd ask Chris Connor, our manager of housing and thriving communities, who heads up this program, to address your questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Connor. Thanks for being here. Well, I'll start off with maybe if you could summarize for members of the public how this IGA will kind of create the next winter, maybe how it's a little bit different than what we've done before, and then just have a couple of questions about what that will look like.
Sure. One of the main functions of the agreement is the fiscal partnership that's made between the municipalities and the county, contributing shared funding, pooled funding into the cold weather response. That's probably the biggest change that we would see in this year's approach. On the ground, things do change from the previous year of cold weather operations when we had the navigation center as kind of the centralized location where we were providing shelter as well as administering county-provided cold weather vouchers. But it looks a lot the same with that facility under renovation and then debuting in a different format. It looks a lot of the same to how cold weather was responded to years prior to that. So essentially, it's an outreach-focused approach to cold weather sheltering, where and it's a front-loaded response too. So as the county public health and county decision-making team monitors the weather forecasts, they would signal a 72-hour advance notice of a cold weather activation, and during those 3 days, that's when our navigators would be performing that outreach approach, going out and encountering, spending as much time as possible in encampment settings, helping people make not only a plan, but a resource plan as appropriate to start assigning those county-based motel vouchers to bring people inside.
Thank you for providing that helpful overview. So in the IGA, it approximates around 200 a night, but wanted to confirm with you what we heard from the county, that that is not necessarily a cap, but there's an understanding that anybody who comes to seek a voucher would receive one. Is that kind of where?
So what the county has communicated to me is the 200 voucher would not be a cap across the entire region, but that's based upon an average. So they're anticipating that there will be nights when more vouchers are allocated and nights when fewer vouchers are allocated, depending on engagement of folks within encampments and how many people are voluntarily coming in. Whether we reach a capacity, whether the county reaches a capacity of voucher allocation, or whether the vacancies hold in the motels that we're placing people in, may be determining factors on the more robust question of, will everybody who's trying to get into a motel be able to get access a motel?
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. So there's like not a financial cap, but there may be a kind of unpredictable resource cap. And then, so let's say, because we've seen in previous cold weather seasons that people start to look for resources as it gets colder, which usually happens kind of throughout the night. What would it look like for somebody at 10 p.m. who finally decides to come inside, but maybe when approached by a navigator had not decided to do that earlier?
Correct. Our navigator teams are largely operating out there during business hours and have their own capacities, right? Like a weather system could last for multiple days, and we can't have our 4 navigators necessarily scheduled nonstop throughout that to like a post 10 p.m. Engagement with folks. So we are limited in those overnight hours. Those limitations really are limited to where we do have an organizational backing. So we're essentially to encounters with law enforcement. So law enforcement will be trained, and there will be motels where patrol officers, through, and I want to emphasize, through routine patrol, would be able to elect to take somebody in if they encounter them in need.
Okay. I'll pause and see if any of my colleagues have questions too. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilor.
Councilor Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And I just want to briefly shout out both Mr. Connor and Ms. Hodson. Mr. Connor, I mean, for folks that aren't aware, has just done an incredible job running our cold weather navigation operation last winter. Mr. Connor, I have no doubt that the many, many hours you put into that genuinely saved lives. So thank you for running such a tight operation. It really was very impressive. And I want to commend Ms. Hodson for, we got regular updates from our city manager over the last, 9 months on this. For folks that aren't aware, many folks up here on City Council participated in a joint countywide meeting with a lot of other elected officials to talk about how we do more coordination with other municipalities. I think generally speaking, I'm really encouraged. I mean, Ms. Hodson always does a great job representing Lakewood and negotiating in a collaborative, thoughtful way with other cities, and this IGA is no exception. I think having a cost sharing here with the other cities and getting the agreement that we've secured is a big breakthrough. So thank you for the hard work. And I want to pick up the thread on what I so appreciate Councilor Cruz pulling it from the consent agenda. I mean, I do think, as we've discussed, we've had many topics on this conversation. This just couldn't be more important. This is literally, not every issue that we deal with up here is life or death. This one is. So let me just. I know the answer to this, but it's useful, I think, to get this in the public record. The motel vouchers, the $900,000 in the motel vouchers in this IGA, those are distributed not just at what's the distinction? Those are distributed at 32 degrees and wet or 20 degrees cold, which is the sort of the severe weather threshold, not the extreme weather threshold, right?
Correct.
Okay, and I think that's really important, and I think useful. Can I just, so the IGA does distinguish between extreme weather at 10 degrees and severe weather at 32 degrees. I didn't actually see that many thresholds that are activated. I mean, it wasn't exactly clear why we even have those thresholds, because it seems like the most relevant threshold is the hotel the vouchers being released at the severe weather threshold of 32 degrees wet, 20 degrees dry. Are there relevant, what gets triggered at extreme weather, 10 degrees, that doesn't get triggered at the higher threshold?
That's very good question. So the county is mounting a strategy around being able to bring people into congregate, essentially soft-sided structures that they would be able to erect. I think at that point is, if I recall, it's 10 degrees for 48 hours, because creating that system, setting up that system, and erecting those structures takes that amount of time. But that's the main fulcrum between the severe weather and extreme weather. You also have different municipalities that have motel programs of their own that kick in at different temperature thresholds as well. And in the IGA, those are reviewed out as well in Exhibit A.
Great. I mean, Mr. Garner, just changing tacks for a second. I know you've put a ton of time and effort into this RFP that's out to basically the renovation of the navigation center that's currently underway, which is set to reopen. The current plan is still for it to reopen in December, right? That's still the time schedule that we're on.
That's still the target date.
Which is great. And that's going to be a huge resource for Lakewood, and having those 103 beds and 24/7 service is a really, really big deal for the community. It does, however, mean that the center, which previously was a place that people could just sort of walk into without an appointment, to Councilor Cruz's point, at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night when it suddenly gets really cold, is going to have because it's a 24/7 facility where people can stay for up to 2 weeks, things are going to function a little bit differently. And that's an incredible resource. My question, though, which I think Councilor Cruz is getting at, is if we do have a situation where the temperature suddenly drops rapidly, and the CAT team is out there and they're doing their best to distribute these vouchers, but obviously the CAT team it's a great team, but they can't be everywhere at once. So the concern I do have is when the temperature suddenly drops, what happens when it's 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, and there's snow, and some folks didn't get vouchers. And now, they're used, because of the operation we ran last year, they're used to going to the navigation center on Colfax. And so they show up maybe at the navigation center expecting to be able to come in for the night. What is our plan? What is there? It seems to me like we really, really, really would like a place, and I'm not sure what that place is, but we would like a place somewhere in the Colfax corridor where someone can know to go to get a hotel voucher in an emergency if they don't have one and they haven't received one from the police. And I guess I think Councilor Cruz and those of us who are sort of believe that this was a life-saving thing that we did last year would really like to raise this early before we get into severe cold weather, because it does seem like it's a really critical, like, in the progress that this IGA represents. I worry that the fact, frankly, that the county doesn't yet have an answer that totally satisfies me on this question is something that I'm concerned could become a life or death issue this winter.
Thank you, Councilor. Certainly I can understand that concern of not having the central location where people arrive. The navigation center itself would still hold as not able to support that type of operation. Half of the building is being renovated for those 103 residents, which incidentally, that 103 number is near the average demand of a cold weather night from the last season. Last season, we would move 75 people into the shelter, and the average number of vouchers that were written on a cold weather night, according to our data, were 29. So that brings you up to 104. So we are short one person in capacity for the NAV Center beds that will be provided. The other side of the building has not been touched for renovation, is separate completely from the residential side in terms of complete different door access, so it would need to be thoroughly staffed. It's also short for bathroom opportunities, those kinds of pieces. What is being done out in the community is, and I can't get too far ahead of some of the community partnerships that are forging, but we are talking to faith communities. There is role and appetite among some faith congregations to have a role in this. They may not be on the Colfax corridor, but they are exploring opportunities for an open door that would be aligned to the severe weather programming. It's got a little bit of a ways to go, but if that were to materialize, potentials could be that they still want a front end kind of name list of folks that they might expect to arrive, but we could then send navigation teams in the second day, the third day of a cold weather operation to bring them into a motel voucher program if that were necessary and needed. So we are looking for groundswell community-based response to be part of this as well.
So let me just because this is so important, let me nail this point down and I'll cede the floor. So just to be clear, if someone is coming and is looking for shelter and when the navigation center is reopened, if there are beds, they are going to be able to come in and get shelter, or they're not?
Thank you, Counselor. So the Navigation Center program will be a referral-based program, not a walk-up-based program. So they would not be able to walk in for a bed at the Navigation Center at 8000 West Colfax.
So I'll cede the floor for the moment. I'm happy to have more conversations about this. Let me state my view that somewhere or another between now and Thanksgiving, it seems to me extremely desirable that the city and the county figure out some way, some point at which vouchers can be distributed, and that information, whether it's through a nonprofit or through a faith-based institution, or there ought to be some location somewhere on the Colfax corridor that people can know that as late as midnight they can show up and get a voucher when the temperature plummets. I don't know how heavy a lift that is this winter, but that seems to me to be extremely desirable for the purposes of making sure that someone isn't left out, in sub-zero temperatures overnight, and that everyone knows, and then that, having us all synced up on being able to communicate that to folks so that folks don't go to the wrong place thinking that they can get a voucher and then show up and realize they can't. I am a little worried that unless we get synced up on that, we're going to have a couple of challenging days this winter.
Councilor Mayor Guerrero.
Thank you. I have just one additional follow-up to this same point, not to belabor it, which is just say I have a husky mix as a dog. I often walk my dog the longest on the coldest nights of the year. This is just a fact about the mix that I adopted. So if I find a person who is thought that they were going to be okay, they're in their tent, they've changed their mind. And for the public, and I know you already know this and staff already know this is something I've done kind of a lot of times. Where then I'm the person that's interacting with typically it's a few people who are realizing that they are just not actually probably going to make it through the night. Who do I call? What do I do to help get that person inside?
So if it's outside of those business hours and I'm not able to deploy any of my essentially 4 navigation staff, including the CAT team, a nonprofit outreach worker, or my own housing navigator, that call is going to need to go into the dispatch system for police response. And we wouldn't have from there, I don't run the triage from there.
I would love to have that answer again, because I think it's not unlikely that I specifically, as an individual and a handful of people that I see in the audience and our friends at Lakewood Left are all people that if they kind of knew how to help that situation would really specifically often be who gets the phone call from the individual or who, and that while those numbers might feel small, I think our goal of trying to, which I know is a very clearly shared goal by you and other staff, of to just not let people die of exposure this winter, right? That's ultimately the goal. And so that is helpful to know, because I think that there's a fair amount of like community partners who are not partners with like a capital P, but like activists and advocates for the homeless community and for the unhoused, who are often out like doing that work. And so if we can just figure out, because if you are the homeless person, you might not want to call or have the phone to call the like non-emergency dispatch. And so I think if we can just help clarify some of those steps, while I totally agree that what we really need is other points or other numbers and other systems there, if that's not where we get to by December, given that this is something that we started really aggressively pushing on last spring, which is for government pretty quick, I think that would be information that I would just encourage a little bit of follow-up on, because I think it would go a really, really long way.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. We can like, even maybe we'll test it out, right? Like, I don't know. Great, thank you for that. And then my other questions that I submitted earlier, I don't know if you were able to see them or not. I submitted to other channels, which is just the conversation about transportation, which again, I think this is something that we're not gonna get a perfect answer on tonight, and that's okay, but for the fact that we have folks who are invested in this, and I am invested in this, and we're all invested in this, transportation was like a large cost and a large barrier, even with our having one place last year. And I know that there are some level of support, particularly once we hit that extreme weather. So for those who are trying to follow along, severe weather and extreme weather are defined within this NGA and in some other like social systems and grant programs. And there's reasons that they're defined this way for different thresholds of temperature and precipitation. And so with extreme weather, we get more help, but the severe weather says essentially that all parties agree to try to help out, more or less. And again, our previous mayor and I, and Restaurant, maybe we'll have the pleasure of getting to do this together this winter, have driven vans around and found people. Again, I don't say any of that to be like, oh, I've done so much. It's just that's the reality is that the gaps that have existed that we're working to fill and that you were and lots of folks here are working really hard to like actually patch together a more official thing has often just been one of us on staff or one of us on council or one of us in a community group somewhere that just cares enough that day to get in their car. Right. And I think that will still happen, and it has to. So call me, everybody. But what do we think are sort of the possible continued conversations there? How is that conversation going? Do we think that other municipalities are really looking at putting in the same type of this skin in the game on transportation as the city has? Again, not asking you to badmouth any of our colleagues and partners on this, but just recognize that we've been leading the way and pushing the way on this, and this seems like a gap that I know we have been fighting on, so.
Sure, and as have I been out there, and it's hard to invoke volunteer response during a severe weather event too, where people have their own safety and concern as well. Transportation largely gets framed up within public transportation and RTD. The conversations that's current work happening now, understanding what the agreement says. The county has been working to identify areas where providing some RTD support can be made possible. I can't speak to where exactly they are on that conversation since we had it last week, because they're still doing their homework on that. It may be that local municipalities need to hold some of that as well. So be offering provision of RTD passes, which could be done through our navigators as well. So.
That's really helpful context, and yes, I have no doubt that you and others have been working hard on that part, and I recognize that getting this system together is like where we're at, what we need to do, because we haven't had it, and then we can continue to build, right? That's the hope here. We've just made a lot of structure and a lot of new infrastructure, a lot of new bureaucratic structure, and a lot of new foundation with which to move on to progress this work. But I think every time we get to see the next version of an IGA, the next version of a contract, it's difficult to not want to ask these questions about what's still missing. And I think we have a responsibility to do that, even though it's also a celebration. I just on the transportation front, I want to offer to some of our activists in the audience, and also I think if we want to maybe have a conversation as well, that the RTD is currently going through an accountability and then a strategic planning process, and they have actually several $1 billion of money that they have to spend down over the next few years, and thinking about maybe how they could be partners on this, thinking about the affordability of their transportation overall is something that's coming up in that space. So I'm just going to put that out there as another thread to pull as we keep moving. And then the last thing is that I just want to say thank you. For those, I've told the story a million times on this bench, and it gets, I think, tiring for my colleagues, but I've been literally in the snow with a lot of these individuals and a lot of those individuals, and a lot of people who aren't paying attention tonight, because this is the night they decided of September and October they could not, because there was all these other things. They are able to take that night off, which I encourage. But so much of this came from recognizing that there was a gap, recognizing that there was an increased need, and a really shared, broad agreement on those values and this idea that like people should not be dying on the streets of the cold in Lakewood, Colorado. And I want to thank you and everyone who's been a part of that, and the immense amount of work that has been happening behind the scenes to try to make some of this happen, to make even these conversations happen that are actually collaborative and regional, and doing that from a city standpoint as a leader is really hard, and it's impressive. And we had a bunch of cots in a church on a Christmas Eve one year, and it was really cold, and people showed up and volunteered and staffed it 24 hours a day for 3 days, literally Christmas Eve, Christmas, and the day after. And that was really incredible work. It was hard work, and it also demonstrated the need. And every time that we have something like this that like puts it together and puts that into perspective and shows that we are, as Lakewood, are continuing to take those steps, even when they don't quite feel like enough, I do just think it's a little bit of my responsibility to just also really celebrate that and celebrate the work. And the fact that we now officially, if we pass this, which I imagine we might, will officially actually have real partnership with the counties and with our municipalities from which, the other municipalities from which to build. And that is kind of incredible. And it's not anything that we thought we would be able to do like a year and a half ago. So thank you for your hard work.
I share that gratitude, especially as I am, admittedly asking for that groundswell community-based support to be part of our response this year. Today's conversation in a church was very refreshing to me, that there's people who are continuing to show up at this time of year, not just when there's a storm, to think about what to do. And those conversations involve some laughter and some tears, but they're still here to make that commitment for this next cold weather season. So thank you.
Councilor Ryan.
I can't say anything better than what was just said a moment ago. I do want to say, though, that long before I was on city council, and we were just a resident of the city, there was always talk about regional plans and discussions about how to move forward on the issue of homelessness. And this, to me, is like the first real tangible thing that I see, and it's a credit to a number of people who are up here and who have spoken, a number of folks from staff, yourself, Mr. Connor, and others that have already been identified. And I just want to say, thank you. It feels like there's a lot still to be done. There's no question about that, but seeing this in writing and having the opportunity to vote yes on something like this is very meaningful to me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Isabel Cruz.
Thank you. I will circle back to maybe more optimistic comments, but I do want to kind of just get through a couple other logistics quickly. So if I hear you correctly, you say that you were mentioning that there is some capacity after hours for navigators, but it just might not be enough to kind of like span us, like last year, there was like a 7-day deployment or something like that, but that there will be some of those hours.
our longest deployments last year were into the 10-day range. The cold weather season is generally considered to be in October to May, so that's a six-month period. Any capacity that I need to pull outside of business hours would need to be arranged with those teams to make sure that capacity can prevail through those patterns, and it may limit their daytime hour capacity. So we did last week with the Navigator team, we did scenario planning on shortly after we were having the conversations with the county, and I was like, okay, here's a week on the wall, and it is Tuesday, and you have your 72-hour notice that you're going to be hit with the activation on Friday. What's your order of operations there? Their approach is to do as much daytime outreaching as possible, first to a priority list of their existing contacts that they know have high vulnerabilities and will need that time to make the plan, but then to sustain those street-based contacts throughout that weather pattern. So, and we will do it as long as the energy and the shift scheduling can allow. But moving into that after hours would probably need to be, we probably wouldn't structure that ask. We would work with our navigation teams through the nuances of that particular weather pattern to figure out what needs to be done and what can balance to what can be done by the team.
Got it. Yeah, that's helpful. Just, I think that there is an impression in the community that there's like not flexibility in that from some of the comments that I've heard. And so it sounds like, although it's challenging to deploy that you all are working together to figure that out. And so I think that that's helpful.
If I have a navigator willing to pull those hours and pull into that to support, and they may very well, they would likely say yes, then I will definitely take them up on that. But I'm definitely protective of their capacity in many ways, not just time, but emotionally and the integrity of their work. So
yeah, absolutely. And thank you for being mindful about that too. And in the scenario planning, I'm curious, did it seem like, because I think a lot of the ask last season was, right, like coming into congregate shelter. And I know the vouchers were kind of like things people were maybe a little bit more excited about. Like, was there maybe a sense that it might be easier to move people into resources with this model, or not sure if you all have gotten there, but I'm just curious.
We haven't quite gotten there in terms of what follow-up is. There is kind of some high expectation that we're entering folks that we contact into the service management system, and that we are doing follow-up. But that's also going to be something that needs to situate itself within the priority of meeting basic needs and weather patterns. So if we have a 10-day weather pattern and we have 4 days before we're hit with the next weather pattern that comes through, which is what January, February kind of look like in our experience, that follow-up might not be a feasible thing that we can do. But people will remember, and when the next time they're in the encampment, they will remember that it's Navigator team or others that brought them inside, and maybe that's the time when that relationship has the space to have that conversation, instead of the mission being bring people who would otherwise be out in the cold inside, right, to make sure that we're meeting those basic needs.
Yeah, I think that's important framing and shows the potential value of this approach. And so I'm hopeful for what we can learn. And then I had another piece I know that was kind of a part of the puzzle with the navigation center was around like the storage of people's belongings and other pieces. Is that part of the county's coordinated plan kind of across the municipalities, or how is that like approach being taken?
There hasn't really been a storage plan invoked yet. As we're moving people into motel options, certainly it's the transportation piece where that, bring what you can, but we may not be able to pack up something that you can bring on RTD to your motel, but the motel's room certainly can take what people can bring on with them in the transportation capacity side.
Great. I appreciate all of that, and I think to the presentation you gave us kind of last year, or at this point, I think, around how there are data, right, to show that our approach did make a difference to the extent, right, that is possible with all of the limitations of data. And I hope genuinely that like your leadership, our city's leadership, is really being taken seriously in that, and that also we can continue to have that outcome in this upcoming weather season.
Yeah, and we can certainly follow up with a review of the last cold weather season, some of the high point outcomes of that, if that's helpful.
Yeah, and I just want to echo too a little bit of what came up with my colleagues' comments of wanting to continue the conversation, just to plan ahead of time when we know that there are going to be those situations where people are asking for where somebody can go at certain times, and are there centralized ways that we can know to go to folks. And so just wanted to echo that, and also just however we can continue to be involved in, like, I think you're taking great leadership. I really appreciate Ms. Hodson's leadership in working on this with the county, and like we can't be the only municipality struggling with this, and I would have loved for this to be kind of part of what the county was taking leadership on in terms of this plan. And so whatever we can do to continue to have that conversation with the county, for them to take an appropriate role in that and really continue to iterate on what I think is a good plan, and what I hope will continue to be a great plan moving forward. Let us know how we can be supportive partners in that as council.
Absolutely, and we'll continue to do everything we can in partnership. Like, we couldn't have met the successes last year without the county's roles of resourcing those motel vouchers, so a lot of gratitude to them. I'm grateful for the coordinated work on this, grateful to the county for stepping up, and I hope we can continue to do what we need to do for our community. Thanks.
Okay, seeing no more hands up, we do have a motion and a second. Please go ahead and cast your votes. Okay. We're going to clear and recast votes.
That would be hilarious.
Okay, that passes 11 yeses and 0 noes.
Mayor, can I make a comment? First of all, thank you for that conversation. At the end of this cold weather season, we will do a debrief and then be able to look at where we need to modify and change any aspects of our IGA so that it's better even next year. So we're really looking forward to this year's experience of this season. Now that this is signed, let's see, we have a couple more agencies that are, I think the final one will be approved tomorrow. The next step now, since this was severe/extreme weather, that's done. The next step then now is an agreement with all of the other agencies for year-round sheltering. And we're going to have the same kind of model, forgive my voice, same kind of model where we have shared costs, which will be yet another big step forward for our community. And we'll have a good conversation around that when it comes to you. Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you for that ad, Ms. Hodson. All right, we will now move on to item number 11. Will the clerk please read item 11A into the record?
Item 11A, second reading and public hearing on O 2025-31, vacating right-of-way located at 10500 West 25th Avenue, Lakewood, Colorado.
Okay, and for that, we do have, not only do we have a presentation available on lakewoodspeaks.org, but we will also get a staff presentation this evening. We've got Bria Pufford here, principal planner and with sustainability and community development. She will be here to give a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Strom, Lakewood City Council. My name is Bria Pafford, and I will be presenting for staff tonight. This is a city-initiated right-of-way vacation. It's case VA 25-0002, located at 10500 West 25th Avenue. The request before you tonight is to vacate unimproved and excess City of Lakewood right-of-way that is located across the former Jefferson County School District campus. The former school campus, highlighted here in yellow, is located in the northwest area of Lakewood in Ward 1. And this slide shows that the school campus is south of West 25th Avenue right here, between Newcomb Way and Miller Street. This slide zooms in a little bit closer to the school campus. You can see the school site outlined here in dark. And on this slide, we can see existing right-of-way that is aligned with West 25th Avenue, as well as Newcomb Way and Miller Street. Those right-of-way areas are not part of this vacation request. Those are aligned with the existing street network and are proposed to remain. The areas that are here in gold or yellow are the two net right-of-way areas that are proposed to be vacated. The first in the southeast corner of the school campus is excess unimproved right-of-way that bisects the future public park parcel that is being acquired by the city in this southeast corner. The second area here in the northwest corner of the school site is also excess right-of-way that is not currently in alignment with the existing improved streets. The right-of-way, as I mentioned before, that is in alignment with West 25th, Newcomb Way, and Miller Street is not right-of-way that we're discussing tonight, not part of this ordinance. Right-of-way vacations are reviewed pursuant to the Lakewood subdivision regulations and require city council action through a vacation ordinance. The criteria for vacating right-of-way includes, first and foremost, a determination that the right-of-way is no longer needed. The process of vacating right-of-way needs to comply with state statutes for vacation proceedings, needs to meet the purpose of the zoning and subdivision ordinances, and it must promote public health, safety, and welfare of the city. Mailed notice was sent to property owners as well as tenants located within 500 feet of the school boundary. We also sent notices to registered neighborhood organizations located within 1,000 feet of the school boundary. Notice of this hearing tonight was published in your hub at least 10 days prior to our hearing date, and notice signs were posted here at Lakewood on our bulletin boards, and also on the school campus adjacent to these right-of-ways at least 14 days prior to our hearing. Finding that the vacation complies with the applicable criteria, staff recommends City Council approve right-of-way vacation case VA 250002. This concludes my presentation. I have other staff from departments available here for me, so if there's any questions, we will do our best to help answer them and provide some clarification. And if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and take my seat and open it up for questions.
Perfect, thank you. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Councilor Ryan.
I'm assuming that there's no existing utilities in these utility easements. These were platted perhaps a long time ago as available, but no one actually put any facilities in the utilities, I'm assuming?
There are no facilities that we're aware of, and this application was sent out to utility agencies and service providers. There is something that we included in the right-of-way ordinance, which will reserve an easement in the event that we find out there are facilities that we're not aware of. They'll still be covered by an easement that is in place for those existing facilities only.
I enthusiastically look forward to voting for this.
Any other hands up? May I please have a motion?
Mayor, I move for the adoption of ordinance O-2025-31 on second and final reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Last opportunity to raise hands. Any questions or thoughts? Okay, go ahead and please cast your vote. That passes 11 yeses and 0 noes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up I have, or I didn't state for the record, I don't have anyone for public comment for the, or public hearing for that last motion. vote, if I could say the right word. Next up, we have item 11B.
Public hearing and second reading on item 11B, O 2025-29, amending the Lakewood zoning code by repealing and replacing Article 3 of Title 17 of the Lakewood Municipal Code.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll go ahead and start public comment on the zoning code. We do not have any staff presentations. If anyone is new to this conversation, I got a lot of information to get you caught up, and you can find it all at lakewoodtogether.org. Lots of documents, also lakewoodspeaks.org. Tonight, we are discussing Article 3 of the zoning, the proposed updated zoning code. Articles 1 through 14 have already been passed, so that's where we are there. We've got Article 3 tonight, and then we will be discussing the map in October. My commitment to all of you, however, is that we are here to listen to your thoughts and your comments about the zoning code. So your comments, don't worry that it has to align with Article 3. We are accepting all comments on zoning for our zoning portions of the evening. Whether it's something that we have already voted on or will be voting on, I would encourage anyone, if you've got thoughts about zoning, to go ahead and sign up. Tonight's meeting started at a little bit of an unusual time. So I did notice a number of people that have been filtering in after our recess. So if anyone is here that would like to speak on zoning and has not signed up yet, Ms. Fiore has her hand raised. You sign up there to speak, and we'll go ahead and get started with the speakers that we have so far. So first I will call up Melissa Eakins, then LaDawn Sperling, and then Bonnie Nguyen. And as you approach, go ahead. You can go ahead and come up, give us your name and address, or your name and ward, and then we'll get your clock started for your 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Miller-Akins, and I am a resident of Ward 1. Mayor Strom and Lakewood City Council, thank you for having us out tonight. I am a realtor. I work in Lakewood. I live in Lakewood. Thank you for having us again tonight. So as someone who works in Lakewood's housing market, I'm confident that these updates will unlock the promise of homeownership for our nurses and other medical professionals, our teachers, our first responders, our young families, and our older community members who want to call Lakewood home, or they want to continue to call Lakewood home. Through creating a variety of housing types, including ADUs or accessory dwelling units, duplexes, triplexes, the updated zoning code meets the diverse needs of a growing community and opens more doors for renters to become homeowners and build generational wealth. Homeownership is out of reach for many buyers right now. For those earning under $100,000, they can realistically only access 21% of the housing stock that we have. Filling the missing middle through adding diversity to these additional housing types is critical. Additionally, I strongly believe the proposed zoning changes will create a thriving Lakewood that new community members and current community members will want to call their forever home. By allowing for additional mixed-use development options, transit-oriented development, smaller lot sizes, and multifamily buildings, we will be able to increase walkability and accessibility, create a thriving atmosphere for small businesses, and preserve the charm of our wonderful community. At a time when traffic and infrastructure concerns are rightfully at the forefront of the community members' minds, these changes will have the additional benefit of promoting sustainable and responsible growth. Overall, the new zoning code will increase supply and allow more individuals to call Lakewood their permanent home. As a Lakewood resident and a realtor, I'm proud to support these changes and urge a yes vote on the updated zoning code. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. LaDawn Sperling.
Hi, I'm LaDawn Sperling, and I live in Ward 4. Mayor Strom and members of the Lakewood City Council, thank you for the opportunity to testify this evening. I am a local realtor who lives and works in Lakewood. I would like to thank each of you for making housing a priority and promoting smart growth through an updated zoning code. I also had the opportunity to serve on the the comp plan update on the housing committee, so I appreciate the opportunity to do that as well. As a realtor who works and lives in Lakewood, I recognize our pressing need for more housing, but also the need to protect the character of our community and property rights of homeowners. I strongly believe that the updated zoning code achieves both of these aims. Right now, Lakewood's zoning code is restricted to detached single-family homes and larger apartment buildings, which limits affordable housing and starter home options while also being land-intensive and increasing construction costs. These restrictions also disproportionately affect older residents, young adults, families, and workers, all individuals who are working towards achieving sustainable home ownership. By allowing for additional housing types and multifamily properties, we can fill the gap in missing middle housing and open the door to sustainable home ownership for more members of our community. At the same time, these zoning updates protect the rights of property owners and allow them the freedom to choose how their property is used. These zoning code updates do not remove the ability for homeowners to construct single-family homes or force them to change their existing property. Instead, it allows for flexibility for homeowners to build ADUs or purchase a smaller lot size that meets their needs. City Council has done a great job engaging fully with all members of our community, including those who own equestrian properties, to ensure they can continue to own horses and maintain their properties. Quaney Gardens is one of my favorite neighborhoods, so the horse property piece of it was really important to me, and I asked lots of questions about that. We want to keep Lakewood's character while focusing on adding housing. Overall, I strongly support the updated Lakewood zoning code. It protects the property rights of our community, adds additional housing types that are critical at a time when we face a housing shortage, and promotes responsible growth that will maintain the character of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Bonnie Nguyen and then Cheryl Ramirez.
Good evening. I'm Bonnie Nguyen of Ward 3. There are dangerous loopholes within Article 3 of the Planned Development PD District. The purpose of a PD district is to allow for large, unique projects that don't fit our standard zoning rules. However, the language in this section is riddled with loopholes that benefit developers, not residents. Here are some examples. Section 17.3.6.2 gives a single city official, the director, the power to waive the 5-acre minimum for a PD district. This opens the door for small, isolated projects that could drastically change the character of a neighborhood without the broader scope and benefits a true large-scale development should provide. It puts an immense amount of unchecked power into the hands of a single unelected person. Section 17.3.6.3 only requires a developer to generally address key elements like density and design. This allows for a bait and switch where a developer can promise a high-level vision and then fill in the details later with projects that are less beneficial to the community. Why can't it be specifically and in detail? Section 17.3.6.5 is a blanket permission for a developer to ask for exceptions to almost any rule. It states that standards of the base zone shall apply unless specifically modified as part of the PD. This can lead to a development that is far more dense, taller, or with less open space than what our community standard zoning code would allow. This isn't a tool for innovation. It's a loophole to sidestep our rules. This isn't just an issue with Article 3. This is a systemic flaw that runs through the entire 400-page zoning document, which is riddled with loopholes that prevent the community from having a voice. It gives the director far too much power, and too many approvals are made behind closed doors. Lakewood has already incorporated all the high-density elements required by HB 24-1313. So what is the purpose of eliminating single-family zoning completely? This developer-first system is a disservice to the community. Strong codes should not rely on a single unelected director's discretion or vague plans. It should require a developer to provide a tangible public benefit. Relying on who shows up tonight or previously or the comments online is a flawed way to measure public support. Not everyone can be here, whether they're working, caring for their families, or just can't make it. The fact that these major zoning changes are being rushed through now, rather than being put on the ballot for everyone in Lakewood to vote on, is fundamentally undemocratic. It's also irresponsible to be making decisions that impact our community for generations past 11 p.m. Any significant zoning changes should be put on the ballot for every resident of Lakewood to decide. Lakewood is a community-first city, not a developer-first city. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Ramirez and then Celia Greenman. Cheryl Ramirez? Okay, Celia Greenman, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm Celia Greenman in Ward 2. I'd like to specifically call out in Article 3, 17.3.3.1, there is language that says, where appropriate, protect the scale, character, and unique appeal of existing residential neighborhoods. Where appropriate should definitely be struck. This is an open invitation to the planning director to do whatever he wants. I would also eliminate the 6 instances where the word generally appears. That is another ambiguous use of syntax that is not only unnecessary, but also could lead to unintended consequences. Regarding the citywide push toward densification, I wonder if an inventory has been made of the vacant buildings and lots in the city. As Lakewood is an infill city, some of these areas could be reconstructed as the cottage gardens, triplexes, or duplexes that could actually allow for home ownership. And could the giant apartment buildings on Colfax have been reconfigured to such smaller complexes? I don't understand why the city conceded to developers' plans for these large human warehouses where rents are determined by algorithms, instead of encouraging or incentivizing the type of developments that the city now feels is possible only by rezoning large lots to small ones. This could be possibly what a case of people saying, well, we can't tell property owners what to do with their property, but on the other hand, that is what is happening to existing property owners now. We are not being allowed to say that we do not want this resizing of our lots. Also, I would like the council to take a different spin on suggestions for environmental protections. Instead of saying every time that these would place a burden on staff or developers, and then this is particularly near parks. Parks are important for people who use them to recreate, escape their 6-story apartment building, achieve a sense of calmness, and being close to nature. Equally important, parks provide a place for the remaining wildlife in Lakewood to live. It should not be a burden to eliminate RM and denser development adjacent to any park in Lakewood and prescribe the bulk plane restriction to development adjacent to any park. Thank you.
Thank you. Shane Sarnall. And then Regina Hopkins.
Good evening. My name is Shane Sarnak. I'm from Ward 3. Council members, Mayor, I want to begin by saying I strongly support this zoning effort, and I urge you to pass it. It is a meaningful step toward making our city more livable. But I also want to be clear, even this proposal remains too restrictive. It still assumes that our neighborhoods must be built around cars rather than people. These restrictions don't just limit what developers can do, they can make it harder for residents to build for themselves. People should be free to create the kinds of homes, businesses, and neighborhoods they actually want to live in. Our zoning should empower residents, not box them in. If we want thriving communities, we need neighborhoods that can support themselves. That means permitting small groceries, pharmacies, restaurants, and other businesses that serve daily needs within walking distance. When people can meet their needs close to home, they gain freedom, dignity, and safety, and our neighborhoods become stronger and more resilient. We also need to recognize how decades of single-family only zoning have separated people by wealth, diminished diversity, and driven housing prices higher. I appreciate the earlier conversation tonight about our city's homeless plan. Zoning reform is a critical piece of that puzzle. If we allow a broader range of housing options, prices would not be pushed so high, and fewer people would face homelessness. More inclusive zoning is not just about affordability, it's about building stronger, more connected communities. Ultimately, I want to start my family in a place that welcomes families and welcomes everyone. This zoning code makes that future more feasible. Please pass it, and please continue to push for a city that is not just built for cars, but built for people. Thank you.
Thank you. Regina Hopkins, and then Feniola White.
Regina Hopkins, Ward 5. In many sections of Article 3 of the zoning code, it emphasizes that residential zones should maintain and promote the character of existing neighborhoods. But time and time again, we see this is not followed through. Take 777 South Yarrow as an example, a 6-story apartment building completely inconsistent with Article 3. Is set to tower over the modest 2-story townhomes at Belmar Commons across the street. Article 3 should require stronger height transition standards so the massive buildings can't overshadow smaller homes or public parks. Yet instead, we have a planning director who has made hundreds of poor decisions approving oversized buildings across Lakewood with no regard for neighborhood character or respect for the environment. Since Travis Parker has been in his role, he has repeatedly failed to exercise sound discretion. Article 3 even says developments should protect the scale, character, and unique appeal of existing residential neighborhoods. But that's immediately weakened by the words "where appropriate." That phrase is a loophole. It hands too much power to the director, and the results are clear. A wave of out-of-scale apartment complexes that ignore the very codes meant to guide them. That language should be removed entirely so it cannot be waived at the director's discretion. In mixed-use district, section 17.3.4, it says developments must interact appropriately with adjoining land uses, yet countless exceptions have been granted, creating a hodgepodge patchwork city with large apartment buildings going up right next to single-family homes and parks. And now this rezoning proposal will only make that the norm, creating even more disconnected and out-of-place buildings in fractured neighborhoods. Some of you on this council seem to believe that that will bring diversity, but what it will actually bring is overburdened infrastructure, increased traffic congestion, and a loss of open space and neighborhood character. I support a diverse community too, but diversity isn't created by forcing the stability that single-family neighborhoods provide. They often foster longer-term residents, stronger social ties, and safer environments. Time and time again, I see the environment take the short end of the stick in Lakewood. And in the planned development districts, the code promises exceptional design that preserves critical environmental resources. But under Travis Parker's approval, nearly 70 protected trees next to Belmar Park were ground into wood chips. Where was the preservation then? Council, it's your responsibility to ensure these protections are not just words on paper, but enforceable standards. And if you fail to act, you're complicit in every oversized, out-of-place development that erodes our neighborhoods and environment.
Thank you. Feniola Wright, and then Joshua Comden.
Okay. Hi, my name is Fenala. I live in Ward 2. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm here to express my support for the updated zoning codes. I know that a lot of residents are worried about their property values. I will also say that the residents complaining about property values are the same ones that actually have a property to go home to. My friends and I at the Lakewood Left work with homeless and housing insecure people every week. And the complaints we hear from the people that we serve are not about property rights. It's where they're going to sleep at night. There is a solution, and it's diverse housing in these zoning codes. These zoning laws only start to address the housing problem in Lakewood and in our state. We need comprehensive laws that target our housing problem that grow from this conversation that we're having here on zoning, including public transportation and walkable neighborhoods. I hope that other cities, like Wheat Ridge in Arvada, where I'm from, adopt these same zoning measures and actually withdraw their lawsuit from the governor. But they probably won't, so maybe. Some residents here tonight will also ask you to not Denver their Lakewood. But from what I've heard from the past 2 meetings, a lot of you seem to care more about a piece of land than the human beings that are living on the street, or maybe even about horses over humans. I have not heard one counselor or person here ask you to give up your land or your horses. I don't even want your horses, and I would rather have you leave them on your farms, mostly because I don't like them, but that's just me. This zoning plan asks all of us to consider a new Lakewood that will house everyone, not just a select few. I would ask anyone in this room who's never met a homeless person before or a housing insecure person to go talk to them for even 10 minutes. And hopefully it will change your perspective on why we need these zoning laws. Everyone deserves to have a place to stay at night because housing is a human right and it should be a Lakewood right, even if our government or anybody else says something against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Comden.
Hello, I want to talk about parks. A couple of weeks ago, I went up to Wheat Ridge for a little focus group meeting Saturday morning, and I went to a place called Panorama Park. It's actually very beautiful. It's not just beautiful because they've got like ball fields and a little shelter and a nice playground. You know, I think a lot of people would say, oh, because of the nice trees and all that, that it's beautiful. But I thought it was beautiful because it was filled with people, tons and tons of people. You could hear parents cheering on their kids at a soccer game, tons of kids making friends on the playground. We were having a community meeting in the pavilion. It was just great. And like to get there, you had to drive through this very walkable area. Like you had to drive very slowly because everyone was walking their dogs and pushing their strollers. It was just a beautiful scene. And the whole thing was surrounded by homes. Now, admittedly, they were single-family homes, but I can tell you that if they were duplexes or triplexes or even, heck, a couple of apartment buildings, it's not going to ruin the area. It's going to be full of people. People can make friends when they come to a park. I don't want to see a park that's empty. People will then say, oh, if there's too many people, you're going to have a lot of maintenance issues and you're going to have to, spend a lot on that. But personally, I would rather the city be spending money on maintenance of a park because it's being very well used than a park that just sits there getting just weathered by no usage. So I think we can really have our parks and we can have our people too. And we can build community around building friends that you meet at parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have one more name here, and then Ms. Fiore, if you, okay, you've got a few. Brenda Lee Connors.
Hi, good evening. Brenda Lee Connors with Metro West Housing, and I'm here again to support the zoning code. I would like to say anything we can do to add more housing is good. Statistics show possibly we need as many as 20,000 housing units in Jefferson County to meet the need. So anything they can add to that is good. Another thing I would say is over the Denver metro area over the last few years, we've added 20, 30,000 apartment units, and rents have gone down because we've added apartment units. So economics works, supply and demand works. Rents have gone down because we have more housing units. So anything we can do to add to housing will help to keep the costs down, to allow more people into housing. So thank you again for working on this zoning code, and I so much appreciate it.
Thank you.
First up, I have Bradley Bruce.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brad Bruce. I live in Ward 2. I'm going to start. I'm going to try not to bully any farm animals this time. So I just want to say that I support these proposed changes. And you guys have heard me say this at every single one of these meetings, so I don't want to reiterate myself too much, but these are great changes, I think. I also want to say that you guys are doing, I think, a really great job getting this information out to the public. I saw the mayor was on Instagram today. Great job. So I think you're doing a really good job. I saw some information about it in the Denver Post. So I just want to say I think you guys are doing as good of a job as the government can do to disseminate information. I know it's not easy to do. I do want to, I agreed with the person over there that said these zones, if anything, they're too restrictive. I would like to see not a limit of 4, like a quadplex. I would like to see 6 or 8. I know that's probably not going to happen, but I think it's important you guys hear that there is even more need for more housing. As we just heard a minute ago, more housing will make the rent go down. I live in an apartment, like I said, in Ward 2. Oh my God. And I have lived in Lakewood for 5 years, I think now, and every single year, and in the same apartment, every single year that I renew my lease, they increase the rent by $100 a month. So at this point, I am spending, I think it's like $1,850 after all their fees that they add on, which is a little more than $22,000 a year. I think I said it last time that the average age of a homeowner in this country is now almost 60 years old. If I'm spending $22,000 of my income every year, I will survive. I'm privileged enough to make enough money to live here, but I know many people are not, and the people that are not are also not the kind of people that have the resources to even come to one of these meetings to talk to you guys. So I like the idea of encouraging you all to go out and talk to people that are living on the street. It sounds like a lot of you have already, but I would encourage all of you to do that more. And the last thing I'll say is one of my favorite things about the zoning and why I think it's so important, even though it's not going to fix all of these problems immediately, but over time, building denser neighborhoods and allowing businesses and small shops to sell food and stuff like that, it will reduce our car dependency. I love trees. I love the parks. I know people probably don't think I do, but environmentalism is very important to me. But in my mind, the car dependence that this country has will kill us much sooner than the lack of trees will and the lack of birds. We have to get off of our car dependence. We have to stop burning fossil fuels. This is a great way to encourage that. And thank you so much. Please vote yes.
Thank you.
Next, I have Paul Ditson, followed by Amber Varwig.
Good evening. I'm Paul Ditson. I'm speaking for the Aber Neighborhood Association. Thought I would make a brief statement. There's not a lot that I can say about this policy this evening that hasn't already been said. Our position hasn't changed. While there's much to admire in this code, things that we do support and endorse about it, we remain opposed to the universal replacement of single-family zoning with that of multiplex use by right. We've stated our reasoning many times over the months and years leading up to this moment, and I won't rehash it now, but recognizing that our opposition alone won't change this outcome of the vote tonight, we simply restate our objection and we move on. Both the comprehensive plan and this revised ordinance frequently refer to respecting the surrounding neighborhood character and development that is sensitive to its context. These are very important principles to us. We expect city administration to be guided by these principles stated in the resolution. We look forward to being given opportunity to engage in meaningful dialogue when applying these principles to our neighborhood's unique character through a productive neighborhood planning process. In the coming days, you'll have a chance to consider a very reasonable proposal that we're advancing to amend the zoning map. We hope that you will give this proposal careful and thoughtful consideration, and we trust you will agree with us. Iber Neighborhood Association looks forward to continuing our quarter-century tradition of working collaboratively and cooperatively with council, commissions, city staff, various districts, and developers in a fair and equitable way to balance this demand for housing with our need to preserve what little remains of our neighborhood's rural character and culture. We ask for your full support. And in the minute I've got left, I'd like to make a statement on my own behalf. I am living in this vision that this zoning ordinance is trying to accomplish. I've had infill development behind me over the years. I live next door to one of these, it's a single family home with a basement apartment and ADU. Three families worth of all sorts of things. I need space. I've got health concerns. I've got a number of reasons that I need larger property to enjoy my lifestyle. Workshops, gardening, all sorts of things like that. This does encroach on that. I get along with my neighbors. I don't complain to them, but it is hard at times to live with them. I've got 60 years of roots in this neighborhood that I'm preparing to start digging up and moving elsewhere because it's becoming unbearable. And I'm afraid that this is what the rest of the city is going to look like under this kind of policy. So with that, thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you.
Amber Varwig, followed by Jamie Lynn Sama.
Amber Varwig, Ward 2. As always, good evening, and thank you so much for hearing us tonight. Thank you for, as always, trying to do the right thing. It is so refreshing. When we're talking about the types of housing we could build, people are getting really confused and kind of controlling about it. I have yet to see a bulldozer with like taking out all the townhouses or something on it, and no single family homes are being destroyed. We're not in a war zone, like it sounds like. I'll tell you what is going on that would be very helpful. My mother recently passed, but some of you had met her. She was in a wheelchair and had been in a wheelchair since she was 59. Before she was 59, she relied on quite a bit of other mobility devices. I have 3 children. You saw them, lovely little kids, and they require a lot. And what I'm noticing about Lakewood is we're gonna lose our seniors and our kids because we don't have the housing that they need to survive here. We don't have the housing that my mom really needed and that my kids still do, because we don't need a house all by ourselves. We don't have that and we don't need that. That's not even what we would want. We need a big home with lots of other families in it, like an apartment or smaller even. These things make sense because when you're trying to put all of your clothes away, you don't shove them all in one drawer and say that's good enough and whatever's on the floor can stay there. You find other places to put the things that you own. Well, when you're a city, you're responsible for the people. There's a lot of us that are in places, a lot of us that aren't. And it just seems to me like we're all trying to control this sense of scarcity, but what if we just built the amount of housing we needed not to have homelessness? That's a strangely weird concept. What if duplexes and townhouses were okay? What if they didn't actually come for your single family homes? Because I don't think they will. I haven't heard that. Nothing I've read or seen even implies that anybody's in danger of that. We're just asking for housing that makes sense for the populace that lives in the city we're in. And right now we can't do that the way we want. If we did that the way we wanted, a lot of the arguments we're having over what our neighborhoods look like and who's in them would be a moot point because people would be housed and you wouldn't be worried about who's standing outside your window. But, you know, the other alternative is to continue arguing about how many people deserve a place to live and which ones do, and we can meet back here again next year. I don't think that's what you want to do. It's not what we want to do. And I don't think it's what's right for Lakewood, so I say let's bring in the housing that we're missing and allow people to stay in their single-family homes, because that's fine. But we don't need to mandate single-family homes for everybody. People like my mother and my children, they just need a place to thrive. And I think you can give them that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie Lynn Selman. And then that's it.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lynn Selman. I am in Ward 2. So the way I look at this, there's two sides. One is saying that there have to be limits on how things get constructed for a single family, and that's putting a limit on the property owner that has that space. And the other side is saying that there are limits on how they can expand that out with non-connected units. So there's not really a question around the property rights of the individual owners, at least with regards to whether we're restricting those or not, because either way you are. The question comes down to, are we trying to make it better for a larger number of people, or are we trying to help the people who are already in those single occupancy homes? And either way, they're still maintaining a semblance of their rights around the property. So why not expand it so that more people have access to housing, more people have access to that? There's nothing being restricted here either way, because there's something being restricted either way. And currently there are people that don't have the ability to stay inside. That's, one side has a benefit to it, the other side is just staying status quo. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. And that, we will go ahead and end the public hearing. And did you want to sign up?
I actually signed up for general public comment.
This isn't general public comment. This is,
I was going to talk about zoning, and I signed up at 5:40 p.m. So I didn't make it, so I will raise.
yeah, if you want to sign up for zoning, you can sign up right here with Jade, and then we'll go ahead and call you forward. Shall I, yeah, go ahead. Shall I remove you from general public comment then?
Yes.
Okay. The floor is yours.
All right, so first, I'm not sure why signing up at 5:40 p.m. doesn't get you on the public comment list at the beginning.
You're on the public comment list. It was just general public comment, not the zoning ordinance.
I know, and I really was covering all of it. That's why I wanted to speak under general public comment. So I hope I'm, anyway, losing time here. I'm here to speak about zoning and transparency. There's been a group that's been working in the background and talking about zoning, not only, I believe, with Lakewood, but Jeffco is overarching. And this group is called the Jeffco Housing Blueprint Group. And it is led by a consultant, and there are other consultants tied to this. How did I come across finding this out, and how does this tie into Lakewood? Well, back in May, I saw a posting of a public meeting on Jefferson County that said it was Jefferson County Housing Blueprint. One of the agenda items on this meeting was creating a narrative about what affordable housing is. It interested me, so I invited a friend and also attended this meeting, a Zoom meeting, signed in. The organizer, including the consultant and some elected officials and public employees, some of which who are paid by Lakewood and our tax money, were in this meeting. Once they figured out 2 members of the public were in this Zoom meeting, they decided to terminate the public meeting and move to a private chat. That should be concerning. then did a Cora on the email exchanges between one of the elected officials in this meeting and the consultant. It came back with 240 pages of emails that have been shared over the last year with these groups. Now, what's interesting is after that meeting where they went to a private chat and the public was just sitting there going, what is this? Why can't we hear what's going on in this subcommittee meeting? It was actually called the communications meeting, so it's ironic that they went to a private chat instead of letting the public hear what was going to go on. Well, and the Cora comes to find out that was quite a surprise to him to have the public attend. And they mentioned in the email, which I got here, as you know, our last meeting was cut a bit short as we navigated a few unexpected issues and surprise appearances. So our brainstorming session around messaging and narratives was shorter than we had hoped. So it has to raise a question is, the emails that are shared with this group include the mayor of Lakewood, the manager of Lakewood, public information officer for Lakewood, public information officer for Wheat Ridge, Golden's involved in this. We've got the whole email chain. Why are there secret conversations that are occurring when supposedly this is a transparent process? As this evolves, I'm sure this will come out more, and the video's been saved where they went to private chat. The emails are there. But I find it very disturbing, very, very disturbing to say the least. Our public money is being used to basically conspire. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. May I please have a motion?
Mayor, I move for the adoption of ordinance O-2025-29 on second and final reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Council, let's do first if we have any particular council questions or comments. I know we do have a couple of amendments that are being considered brought forward. So first with questions, Councilor Mayotte Guerrero.
I think I want to ask a question that's sort of broadly about the continued theme, not just from this evening, but from several other conversations about like the director's purview and your ability to overrule things. And I know that we've had actually some amendments that sort of narrowed and clarified this in our last conversation about zoning. And I think we might have a conversation about that this evening also. But I guess I'm wondering if you're willing to speak at all to the way that these sections add up, because I think that there is a very reasonable misunderstanding happening from many members of the public, and it's a question I get a lot, which essentially asserts that any time within the code there's any type of exception that says up to the director's discretion, that means for the whole code there's director's discretion. And it is reasonable to me that is the question coming up, because when you're just reading that one section, that is what that reads like. But of course, this is all meant to be read as ultimately it works together as one thing. It's iterative. It works like on top of itself, right? It doesn't actually each time it says director's discretion does not then negate every time that it's not able to be the just director's discretion before or after that in the code. It's its own component in its own well-defined article. I'm wondering if we can just have a little bit of discussion, maybe from the director or from other folks on staff, just to clarify a little bit about that concept and how it theoretically works.
Okay. I mean, there aren't... This code, the 2012 code, the existing code, was designed largely to create a system that was very objective. There are standards that have to be met, and staff determines whether they're met or not. We consciously very much limited any discretion, and I don't know that the term discretion appears more than a couple times in the entire existing code, nor in the proposed code. So there are very few, to my knowledge, decisions that can be made by staff or the director. The entire code is meant to be standards that are either met or not met. So I'm happy to discuss any particular examples of that term that you're talking about, director discussion, but I'm not aware of very many that exist.
Looking for the one that was asked about today, because again, the one that was in our last the biggest chunk that we've passed so far actually was amended to clarify how narrow that piece of it was, and that was I think the one time that appeared in all of those chapters.
And I think the example today was not, I don't think it mentioned the director at all. You're talking about, there was a general statement that said, where appropriate.
Yes, that is what I'm referring to.
And that isn't even a standard in our code. So that section that was quoted is a purpose and intent statement. So it's saying the purpose of this code is that where appropriate, things should be in a certain way. That's not a standard that we review. That's not a standard that we can enforce. That's a purpose and intent statement. And there's no language in it that I'm aware of the director determining anything.
Thank you for that. And I do think that we'll have further conversation on this topic as we move forward, even with mapping, right? It's just going to keep coming up, but I do appreciate starting the conversation there. I think that's it for this moment. We'll continue with the evening.
Okay, I have no more hands up for questions, so any counselor that has an amendment, this would be the opportunity to bring that forward. Counselor Ken Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor. So the one amendment that I have is Article 17.3.6.2. And this is talking in regards to plan development. I am proposing an amendment to delete the last sentence that reads, "The director may reduce the required minimum size of a PD district if it is determined that the proposed district will still meet the intent of the PD zone identified in 17.3.6.1. In all reality, this was, just ensuring that any PD remains tied to significant sites and cannot be applied on smaller parcels.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have, Counselor Nystrom, your hand is up. Is that for an amendment or a question? Okay. Well, we'll come back. We've got Counselor Sinks, then Counselor Lowe, then Counselor Furman.
Thank you. So, Councilor Cruz, just some clarity. So you said that the heart of it is that you want a planned development to stay at 5 acres and not be smaller. Is that the heart of it, or is the heart of it the director may reduce? So do you want to keep the director's authority to keep the size at 5 acres? So the size is the issue, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's in generally to create a guardrail that makes clear that PDs are reserved for large master plan projects like they have been.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, very rarely do you have lots that are, I don't know, I think it's rare that it's a discrete 5 acres, how about if a lot size is 4.65, then it wouldn't pass the PD rule here if we take away the director being able to reduce the required minimum size. Is that correct? Do you want to just right at 5 or higher? In this amendment? Right?
In this amendment, it would actually just be removing the director's full ability to reduce that minimum 5 acre size. Mm-hmm. So there would be no minimum in this situation or there wouldn't be a path forward to remove or to reduce to a minimum of 5 acres and lower.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Lowe.
I thank my co-counsellor for bringing the amendment. I've had a chance to review it and talk briefly to staff. I have no objection to the amendment. I think it's a reasonable change. So I plan to vote yes.
Counselor Furman?
I have a question. Basically where we have PDs that are smaller than 5 acres by themselves tends to occur in commercial zones. My concern, and this is, I will say this out of my own ignorance, you can tell me, is there an impact to, and because I'm thinking about areas, I'll take the Mills kind of area where you have a variety of different PD zones. I don't know that there's certainly some that are very close to this number. Does it impact their ability to do some of, because I think generally one of the things I don't hear about is a concern around making sure that we continue to have commercial development. Do you see any negative impacts to having the flexibility, even if it's simply not your flexibility, but some flexibility to deal with this as it pertains to the PDs that are in commercial areas?
So this only applies to the creation of new PDs. So this won't affect existing PDs whatsoever.
Counselor Ryan?
Just picking up on that thread, though, moving forward, will this negatively impact the ability to develop commercial?
No. We haven't had the need to create a PD in 14 years, so commercial development's completely achievable under any of our mixed-use zones or commercial zones.
And I'm assuming the variance process is still available, even if your discretion is removed?
Yeah, variance.
Okay, so if there is a 4.69 whatever acre or something, someone could apply for a variance.
No, a variance is to a standard of the code. This is the ability to create a district. I don't think a variance could apply to the minimum size for a PD.
Okay.
Counselor Matt Guerrero and then Counselor Cruz.
I also just have sort of a core concept question. Might be for staff, might be for my co-counselor here. I'm not quite sure. But I think I essentially don't mind. I think just to the point of this conversation, public plan development districts are rare, they're large, that's the point. They are supposed to be a really unique tool. But I guess my concern is sort of having this ability to plan and create a cohesive process for a really massive project, right, is the point. And something, for example, that is 4.8 is still a really massive project that probably needs this as a tool. So I guess, like, to me, the reason that the variance would be there, like the only reason that the director may reduce the required minimum size of a PD district if it is determined that the proposed district will still meet the intent of the PD zone identified, which is it's intended to permit the planning and development of substantial parcels of land which are suitable in location and character for the uses proposed and are suitable to be developed as a unified and integrated project. So the point is that you have what could be sort of these discrete, and maybe I'm mistaken, but my understanding is that the point is that you have all of these parcels together that could end up being these discrete projects, and having a PD allows us to sort of unify that process and unify like what's gonna happen there so that it is like one conversation. I guess here's my question, right? If we're looking at something that's 4.8 acres, but the intent of the planned development district, like what is the harm of it being? For the record, 5 acres is 217,800 square feet, so it's really big. Like this is just not what we're seeing the footprint of normal buildings as or anything to that nature. So I guess my question that I'm getting at is like, are we going to be missing a tool to better regulate, to better shepherd a process, or to better help the public engage in the rare case that we make a new PD that just happen, and then we can't because it just happens to be 4.9? Do you see what I'm saying? Like that's my question isn't the whole point of that is just like, this is already so rare, and if it comes this close, we want to be able to still do it this way because it's an important tool to make a unified process for massive projects that are very rare. So like why make the point that small potential? Why take that away from us when then what the point is here is to like make this an easier, more cohesive, more understandable project when you have massive new development?
Is that a question
Maybe
to me?
perhaps, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I'm just misunderstanding what a planned development district is for. But to me, this what it reads like, right, is that in the very, very rare circumstance in an infill city where you have a huge amount of land with all these parcels next to each other, you essentially want to be able to like create some level of cohesion.
I can help with the intent of the PDs, and it really isn't necessarily size related or even process related. The intent of a PD is to allow for flexibility in a project that doesn't otherwise exist in the zoning ordinance. So prior to 2012, we had a pretty old, outdated, and restrictive zoning ordinance, so we had to do a lot of development through planned developments. Anything mixed use wasn't allowed under that old code. So we have a code now that's pretty flexible and pretty able to accommodate any type of development that we'll see. So that's why we haven't seen and haven't used this. But in the event that some type of development came forward that wasn't permitted in our code, that's what the PD's for.
Okay, so this is essentially a remnant of, say, a Belmar, where we see a bunch of residential, we see a bunch of commercial, we want to be able to put apartments and office buildings in the same large swatch, and we didn't have a code that allowed that. I'm just trying to repeat
That's
back.
exactly right. Before 2012, we didn't have a code that you could do residential and commercial in the same district. So we needed PDs for that.
Great, because
Now we do.
to be clear, what I'm asking about is places like Westland, right? Where we have that potential for so much mixed use, and we want parks, and we want community good, and we want commercial, and we want offices. And I'm like, if that's not quite 5 acres, we need to be able to like create something that makes sense there. But if what you're saying is that we have a code that still allows for that, even if it's not within the PD structure, then I don't mind at all. Thank you. Sorry that was difficult to answer.
That's right.
And that is my last hand up. So it looks like we are ready to vote on the amendment. Counselor, will you read the amendment one more time? Please.
This is for Article 17.3.6.2, and this is to delete the last sentence that reads, "The director may reduce the required minimum size of a PD district if it is determined that the proposed district will still meet the intent of the PD zone identified in 17.3.6.1.
Okay, thank you. So a vote yes would be removing that sentence. Please go ahead and cast your votes. All right, that passes 10 yeses and 1 no, the no being sinks. Councilor Nystrom, you're up.
Okay, and Director Parker's already kind of clarified the purpose for some of the wording in these documents, but I think to minimize angst and a lot of feedback that I have received in roundtables and in talking to people one-to-one, on 17.3.3.1, letter C, where it says, where appropriate, protect the scale, character, and unique appeal of existing neighborhoods, or residential neighborhoods. I'd just like to strike the 2 words, where appropriate.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any council questions? Councilor Lowe.
Given some of the feedback we got tonight, and some of the concern about that phrase, I think this is a reasonable amendment. I plan to support it. Thank you for bringing it.
All right, I have no more hands up, so we'll go ahead Please cast your vote. That passes 11 yeses and 0 nos. Do we have any other amendments this evening? Okay, we have a question. Councilor Nystrom.
Thank you. Director Parker, I intend to follow up on this with yourself and the Public Works Director this week, but we did have a brief hallway conversation last meeting about what's required from the state government in terms of the water planning fact sheet as it relates to the comprehensive plan, which is ultimately tied to the DOLA grants. And I understand that the deadline for this is 2026, but in the end of 2026. But in digging into this, my concern is that the idea is this is supposed to be complementary or work or coincide with the comprehensive plan. And we've already passed the comprehensive plan and we're moving forward with these zoning changes. And, you know, overwhelmingly the feedback that I have received from people, especially walking around in neighborhoods and talking to people, is that we don't have the infrastructure to support what's been proposed, both in terms of sidewalks, adequate sidewalks, bike lanes, stormwater drainage, those types of things. And in terms of assessing our water supply, you know, separate from the water districts and those types of things, there's a lot of very pointed questions or things that we need to identify in this particular, they're calling it a fact sheet, but it's also a requirement that it be completed in conjunction with the comprehensive plan. And my concern is that we haven't done this yet, and yet we're ready to pass zoning changes that could definitely impact our ability to supply enough water to the people that are already here. I also ran into a gentleman that had just purchased a house, and he works for Denver Water, and articulated to me a lot of the concerns that he has in terms of their ability to maintain pressure and adequate water supply right now. So I guess I'm curious about whether the appropriate people on your staff or whoever's department this falls under have really assessed this, and if there is a comfort level that we are where we need to be in order to enact this density in our city.
So there is a comfort level on staff that the utilities are available, and not that these changes in the zoning alone are increasing density. The density is coming even with our current zoning, or the people are coming, I should say, even with our current zoning, and with new state law changes, more people can come to residential neighborhoods without any changes at the local level. So there's several things going on here, but all that to say, you and I did talk before and to catch everybody else up, there is a recent state law change that requires a water element to the comprehensive plan. This was just passed recently, so it wasn't part of our 2-year-long comprehensive planning process, but we will, as a result of that state law, have to come back in the next year and a half and add a water element to our comprehensive plan. So we'll put that on our to-do list.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Mayor Guerrero.
Thank you. 2 more quick questions. This was, Councilor Nystrom, this was a question that has come up on my last couple of community meetings on this topic, and I want to just check my understanding on this as well, which is that particularly because of how some of the tap fees work and also what a small percentage of property taxes the city actually takes, that beyond water availability, but really around creating the infrastructure to support a growing population in terms of sidewalks, lighting, traffic control, new water lines or like city infrastructure, flood mitigation, the sewer projects we're up to. I know some of those are grant dollars, but also single-family homes don't tend to be what's primarily paying for that infrastructure creation. Like part of the way that we have written this code is that larger apartment buildings are required to do some level of sidewalk building, of lighting. There's points for connectivity from green spaces, which is something that we had updated. So I just want to make sure that my understanding of that some of these larger developments are actually exactly how we get that infrastructure investment is true.
Certainly, the physical infrastructure like the streets and the sidewalks, improvements to those are paid for by development. And you're right, single-family homes don't trigger any of that sort of thing. So new apartment buildings are how we get sidewalks. They're how we get intersection improvements, et cetera.
Fabulous. I know that there's been some conflict around the light rail as that those two types of buildings are being met, but I also know that there is a lot of new lighting and a lot of new sidewalks, and I get a tremendous amount of really positive feedback in that area around the way that neighborhood's starting to feel connected and that people can get to the parks, that people can get from their homes to other places now in an area that had felt very hostile to pedestrians because it was already populated enough that there was traffic and pedestrian conflict all the time. So I wanted to make sure that we were kind of doubling down on that theory. Fabulous, because it's important to me. And then my other question, just for clarity, although I think the person who asked the question is no longer in here, but for the record, I just wanted to make sure the Jeffco blueprint is something that we publicly adopted and we're very excited about. I want to say a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago was that process?
It was a year. Yeah, maybe just a year ago.
Okay.
And yes, you did adopt it publicly.
Fabulous.
And it was posted.
Great. And my recollection is that we had a little bit of public comment. I remember as the HPC chair being really involved in some of those conversations.
Yes.
And so there are records of that if people are worried about it. I just want to say we can find out the dates for you, but the blueprint is part of what we're excited about and supporting, and part of what is also going to allow for some of these zoning changes to really maximize our benefit, because it is on a long list of the things we have been doing over the last many, many years to try to tackle the affordability crisis in Lakewood. And they all do work together, and they all are in the open. So the blueprint's great. People should look into it. It's really fabulous, and I'm really excited that we're a part of it.
Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we're definitely neck deep as a council in multiple zoning hearings, so I wanted to make two quick points that I've just heard come up a couple times. One on the water question, which I know I've certainly heard that question as well in the community. I did find the city's posted a page on lakewoodtogether.org. There's an FAQ section that some of those I think do helpfully address some questions that we've been getting a lot. I found this one particularly helpful. Question: can water and sewer infrastructure serving Lakewood residents handle more development? Answer: Lakewood residents receive their water and sewer service from more than 20 different districts that are separate governments from the city. Each district is responsible for managing infrastructure in its own service area. The city itself only provides water and sanitary sewer service in a small part of North Lakewood. When new development happens, developers or property owners are required to pay tap fees and the cost of improvement needed to the water and sewer infrastructure, aka pipes, pumps, etc. These fees are designed to pay for the improvements needed to support the new development, etc. Additionally, water and sewer districts are asked to review proposed developments in their district during the planning process to assess any issues the development might create and have those issues addressed. This ensures that infrastructure can be scaled to meet the needs of new customers. Each individual water and sewer district must determine whether their infrastructure can handle the new development. So I found that helpful. The one other thing I wanted to call out, I've posted on I've been posting on Facebook more than usual about zoning over the last month for my small band of like 5 followers who actually look at my Facebook page. I posted this there. As a reminder, this was, if we go way back in time to early 2024 when this body approved the strategic housing plan. If you look in the appendix A of that plan, there's a lot of good stuff there. They mention a survey that was done over the course of a month and a half by an independent surveyor, GG+A. Quote, GG+A designed, administered, and analyzed an online housing survey. The electronic survey was made available in both English and Spanish with assistance from the City of Lakewood. The survey was widely publicized and distributed to the community via methods ranging from city-sponsored social media accounts, Lakewood Together public engagement website and its registered users, postcard mailings to 137 registered neighborhood organizations, advertisements and looking at Lakewood Magazine and other printed newsletters, digital flyers, word of mouth, notifications associated at all City Council ward meetings, flyers provided to Lakewood service providers, including, they list a bunch of examples. So total of 551 survey responses were received, and of those, just about 500 or just north of that were actually in Lakewood. And so this isn't quite as good as an independent public, independently public poll of Lakewood, which would be almost impossible to do in Lakewood for the city. But this is the next best thing. It was, as you can tell, it was as aggressive as effort as we could reasonably expect by an independent surveyor to get a sense of what Lakewood residents think. And one of the things that survey found after being open for almost 2 months is that 50% of residents surveyed supported more duplexes and triplexes in their area, 33% were opposed. Now, I take the 33% that are opposed very, very seriously. Clearly there are a lot of folks in Lakewood that didn't like this idea, but there were more that did. I mention that because I've heard over and over and over again from some quarters of the community the sense that they reflect the silent majority of Lakewood, and we're not listening to them. And the truth is as part of the extensive engagement that goes back 2 years before the zoning proposal was tried out, extensive feedback was done through the comprehensive plan process and earlier as part of the strategic housing plan to try to get a sense of what Lakewood residents think. The survey response, I'll just add, were actually, the survey response, only 20% of the survey respondents, despite all the outreach that we did, were actually renters. The true percentage of Lakewood residents who are renters is 42%. So renters were meaningfully underrepresented in the survey sample. The survey sample also skewed meaningfully older and meaningfully more likely to own single-family homes. And despite all that, by a reasonable margin, folks were supportive of allowing more duplexes and triplexes in their residential neighborhoods. I just wanted to mention that as an important fact. I've gotten a number of notes from folks saying, why aren't you listening to us? We really are. I'm reading every message I get. I appreciate the feedback we've gotten on both sides of this issue. We certainly heard a lot of it through these public hearings and in the months leading up to this, as well as the 4 different study sessions that City Council has had before this, as well as the ward meetings that I think happened in every single ward meeting with Director Parker on this topic. But let's also be fact-based about this. I wanted to mention that as an important data point. Anyway, I'm looking forward to passing this ordinance tonight, and we continue to appreciate the input that we're getting on all sides from the community on this really important issue.
Okay, seeing no more hands up, we will go ahead and move forward to a vote. Councilor Nystrom, if you can read your amendment one more time for the record. Oh, going home, not yet. So we just need to vote on the ordinance as amended. Thank you, Counselor. So we still, I knew we had one more vote left. All right, with that, no more hands up. Please go ahead and vote, and the vote would be to pass the ordinance as amended. Do we need to vote again, or? Okay. That passes 9 yeses, 2 noes, the noes being Ryan and Nystrom. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight and for your patience as we continue to move through this process. It's definitely been a haul since March when we picked up this conversation, and I appreciate everyone that has stayed involved throughout that time or that has learned more recently and become involved, and for our counselors and staff that have spent so much time on this issue. So as I mentioned earlier in the evening, we will be back in our next meeting. I believe it's October 13th, and that discussion will be around the map, the zoning map with the new draft of the code. So with that, we will move on to our final public comment on non-agenda items. And I have one person signed up for that, and that is Chris Tenario. Yes.
Good evening to everybody, City Council. I'm a new resident. I'm in Ward 1. Just an FYI, the bike path near 13th and Garrison has absolutely no lights. And that concerns me for public safety because there's a lot of people that ride their bikes through there, walk their dogs through there late at night. And I just don't want anything to happen to anybody in that area because I take the light rail and sometimes I have to walk through there and have my flashlight on. So that's a big safety concern for me. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else like to speak?
I have one, Celia Greenman.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening again. Celia Greenman, Ward 2. This regards the comments on Lakewood Speaks. When you put a comment or write out a comment and submit it to Lakewood Speaks, you get an email returned that says your comment will be considered, and if it is approved, it'll be published. Right now, there's a comment on Lakewood Speaks that is a personal attack on a resident of Lakewood. It is vile, it is inaccurate, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the zoning issue. When I asked the clerk about this, I was told it is the decision of the city attorney to allow this type of comment, and it makes me wonder then what you have to do to not have your comment approved. The Lakewood Speaks is a public operated forum. It is not next door, and to allow this type of comment to be published, I think is a disgrace for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we will, no more? Okay, so we'll go ahead and close general public comment, and we have no items this evening on general business. Do you have an executive report?
I do. Can I do a quick one?
Yeah.
I'll make it really quick. Just a couple of updates. Our most recent community outreach court, we had 58 participants. I mean, it just keeps growing, and it's really successful. So congratulations to our municipal courts for running such a great program. Also, some good news. At our last budget study session, we talked a little bit about Mount Air Park and the fact that we couldn't get the provider of the portable restrooms to come back because there was an incident. So we had another conversation since that meeting, and they're going to come back. They're going to try again. So that's really good news for Mount Air Park. And thanks to the tenacity of the community resources folks for trying again. A big announcement on Thursday, the 25th, is the Elks Lodge and the City of Lakewood are holding the 12th annual West Metro Veterans Fair. And it's over at the Elks Lodge, 1455 Newland Street. Please come. It's such a special event. Again, it's Thursday, September 25th from 11 to 2. Great event. I get to go every year, and it's just really special to be able to see all the programs and services for the veterans. This might be a little geeky, but we have the radio team has launched a new regional channel that enables JeffCom to coordinate with multiple agencies, which is always good, including Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, and Arvada during regional activities. So that's good news. We've got better communication. And here's an update on the solar project. Listen to all this news I have. On the solar project at the Whitlock Center, it's underway. Of course, the first section of the parking lot, that's all installed, and we still are on track to have completion by the end of the year. So that's good news. And has anyone seen the Sears building or the fact that it's been demolished? There was a big event last week that was really special to see these big equipment things taking down the building. That was really fun. And finally, on a sad note, you all heard from an employee, Roger Wadnell, who was the manager in the area of sustainability and comprehensive development. Really good man, worked for the city for over 30 years. He actually presented the comprehensive plan, and 2 weeks later, we lost him. And he died on August 23rd. The reason I bring him up is because he was such a public figure and did so much for the city of Lakewood. So there's a lot of tender feelings in our organization lately because of the loss of Roger. He was a good man, and we'll miss him very much, but I wanted to make that announcement. And that's it. That concludes my report. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, and we'll move on to council reports, and we'll start with Ward 1.
Thank you. Thank you for modeling that brief report, and I will continue that in not looking at anyone, but just getting into it. So would let folks know that we have an October 4th ward meeting, and we'll be joined by Jeff Com to share a little bit about how 911 and emergency response services happen here. Want to just thank real quick, and I'm sure many others will talk about this, but Love Lakewood Day. Thank you to all the volunteers that came out on Saturday. We had a number of Ward 1 sites that people signed up for and were able to help and support their community. So really appreciated that. And I would just reinforce the Sears demo. So this is probably the most asked question in my tenure on City Council. When is the Sears building coming down? I'm not sure what I'll be asked in its stead, but I'm excited to see what that is. And it was a great day to celebrate the progress that's happening and to remind folks, particularly in the West Colfax neighborhoods and Northwest Lakewood, that they're not forgotten and that progress is underway. And so really excited to celebrate that and looking forward to celebrating what comes next on that site. And that's it for me.
Ward 2.
I will save one of our exciting updates for our Ward 3 counselors. But the only thing I wanted to mention, since we've just been having a lot of late meetings, is there are some exciting events coming up in Ward 2. The Denver American Indian Festival is going to be hosted yet again in our district on Saturday, October 11th at the Lakewood United Methodist Church. Hope to see many of you there. It's really a wonderful community event. And our O'Kane Park neighbors are having their annual meeting on October 22nd, in case anybody's listening in O'Kane Park and wants to connect with their neighborhood association. And Two Creeks will be happening on October 14th at 6:30 p.m. at Mount Air Church. So we're entering annual neighborhood meeting season, and it'll be a blast. So see you out there.
I have very little to add, except that we had our ward meeting just 2 Saturdays ago. It was well attended. It was at the Washington Heights Art Center. That day also had the Chicken Fest at 40 West. It also had the Glenn's Art Fair, art tour. And so there has been a lot happening. I will also share that there's really compelling theater happening at La Flamboyant at this moment. I'm excited to attend one of those this time. I have not been able to see a full production there, just been to events. Very excited about it, and I encourage people to check it out. And that the upcoming First Fridays, Fall First Fridays, are always my favorite ones. And so just you end up with a lot more costumes, a lot more sort of vibrancy, and of course, Dia los Muertos themed events as well, and partnerships, which is a really fabulous time. So the first Friday in November and the first Friday in October. And that today is, of course, the first day of fall. And I think we can all tell it's damp outside and it's beautiful. And there's so many fall events and apple-themed things coming up.
Ward 3.
Well, Councilor Isabel Cruz teed me up perfectly for this. Thanks for the preview. We've got a joint Ward 2, Ward 3 meeting coming up. We're very excited about October 21st. So that's like a month away. But mark your calendars now. Tuesday, October 21st, 5:30 to 7 p.m. We have 2 locations reserved right now. We're going to narrow it down and we'll get the location out. They're both actually Ward 3, but we'll get you the details on that in the next little bit. We've got Mike Whitaker from Public Works coming as a guest speaker. We're going to focus on traffic and pedestrian safety, speeds, how to make Lakewood safe for pedestrians and cyclists, and reduce speeds, something we've gotten a lot of feedback on in Wards 2 and Wards 3. So we're excited about that. I think that was, and Cider Days. Thank you. Cider Days is coming up on October 4th and 5th. How you read my mind. I'll see you there. We love it. My husband loves it. It's always an amazing time. Great opportunity to see all the best of fall in Ward 3. So get your tickets to that. Happening both those weekends in 2 weeks. So not this weekend, but next weekend. We hope to see you there. Also, I can't believe I'm even addressing this, but I'm going to just for good measure. There's one resident that has mentioned a couple of times, has insinuated that I own Metro West Housing Solutions. I don't. Metro West Housing Solutions is a public housing authority. To my knowledge, no one owns them or one of their properties. I certainly do not. So someone can keep saying that, but I do live a couple blocks away, and I think a property that they own is nice, and I've actually talked to them about a range of issues around their property. But I certainly don't own it, and I have no involvement whatsoever in it. So people can keep saying that, but there's literally no truth whatsoever to that. Okay, I'll turn it over to Councilor Ken Cruz.
All right. Well, I just want to start off by congratulating all the Mayor's Inspirational Awardees. Continue doing the work that you're doing with community, and love to continue to see those efforts. I also just want to take a moment to thank residents within Ward 3 and throughout Lakewood participating in the zoning roundtables. They have been very beneficial, in creating an opportunity for feedback, as well as proposing suggestions and changes. We do have one more left, and that's going to be September 25th at 6 p.m., and that will be at the Belmar Library. So this is the last zoning roundtable. Again, that's September 25th at 6 p.m. at Belmar Library. And then officially kicking off 2 advisory circles this month. The first one being September 28th at 12 p.m., and this will be for the LGBTQ plus community. This is a space for you to be able to just come and talk with me, share your ideas, your concerns, the opportunities. And then same day, September 28th at 4 p.m., this will be the Unhoused Advisory Circle, both being at Belmar Library. And again, same style format, kind of just introductions, and then really just identifying opportunities, things that you enjoy, and ideas for solutions. So hope to see you there. If you'd like more information, please reach out.
Ward 4.
Mine's not nearly as lengthy. However, I will say Dave and I have a Ward 4 meeting on Saturday the 27th from 11 to 12:30 at the Green Mountain Rec Center. The initial intent of this will be to focus on gathering any questions that we can pass on, because our October meeting, which I don't think we've locked the date in, or at least not the date and time, or have we? And I'll leave that to Dave to lean in on. But the October meeting will be with the police chief, and so in an effort to make sure that we get the kind of questions addressed that people are most interested in, we'll take the first part of that meeting and address potential questions, and then obviously the second half, a lot of people will want to talk about the next phase in the zoning, which is the map. Hopefully we'll take a couple minutes and explain anything people might need to know about that, but people can bring questions. I encourage people to reach out. There have been people who've emailed and called, and I appreciate that. It's great to have an opportunity to talk directly to people about this. The map is probably a pretty critical one for people to get their input on, so please reach out. And I appreciate everyone mentioning Cider Days. For anyone who remembers Lakewood on Parade, for me, Cider Days is taking the place of Lakewood on Parade. So I have fond memories of that and look forward to Cider Days. Thank you.
Yeah, we're tentatively scheduled for an October meeting with the police chief on October 15th. That's always subject to change depending on the chief's schedule, but that's where we're at so far at Green Mountain at 7 o'clock. And I just want to say thank you to the mayor and to staff to continue the Mayor Inspiration Award, to recognize, and I don't know that anyone's listening anymore, but you know, it really does take everyone to make Lakewood what it is. And if we're going to move Lakewood beyond what it is, we're really going to need nonprofits and our business community to help us. And so I absolutely love the Mayor's Inspiration Award, and you guys picked some fabulous winners. I'm a little bit biased, but also one of the award winners was 40 West Arts. If you do a Google search on 40 West Arts Gala, there's a gala coming up on October 10th. And let's see, and then for those who observe, Happy New Year. It's the beginning of the Jewish New Year, so Happy New Year to those who do observe. And thank you, everyone who's listening to us still, and we look forward to your input.
Ward 5.
Okay, I guess I have the opportunity to throw Councilor Beer under the bus tonight, right? So our next ward meeting is October 11th, and we will be revisiting some of the previous topics we discussed about zoning, the overall map, and the comprehensive plan. I do want to point out, and for anybody that has gotten this request, we have an increasing problem on Yale, which goes past an elementary school and which is very heavily trafficked by pedestrians and bicyclists. So I think in all likelihood, the people that are treating Yale like an Autobahn right now because of the diversion of traffic from Morrison Road are probably not going to pay attention to this, but I would encourage people to slow down. Public Works does not have any slow down signs available right now, but they are making more, and we intend to post some of those out there. But it is a dangerous situation. I mean, there's always been speeding there, but it's much, much more congested now, and there's a blind curve at Zephyr and Yale, which is really concerning to some of the residents with small children that like to take their kids to the Greenbelt. So anyway, that's just an FYI for anybody that is looking for those signs. And again, I would encourage people to just please honor the speed limit. It's getting dicey. Thank you.
Councilor LeBeer, did you have anything to add? Nope. All right. Thank you. Okay, then we will move on to the mayor's report. And real simple tonight, I will touch for just a second on the Mayor's Inspiration Awards. I had made a few comments earlier tonight, but what I want to add is also a thank you to the people who nominated these wonderful individuals within our community, because I know that that's not easy to sit time aside to sit down and do these nominations. We had a number of people that spent that time, and thank you to everybody, because it does make our community better when we all show up and we're doing work. And that will lead us right into Love Lakewood Day. It was an incredible day with almost 400 people working across our city on multiple projects, from picking up litter to stuffing food bags, or various different projects at schools across our community that really this is Monday, and we have children that showed up in a school today and really felt loved because something amazing happened over the weekend while they were gone. These are the kinds of things that change when we come together and we work together. And so thank you to everybody who showed up this weekend, who signed up to work on these projects. I will do also a special shout out to a number of our churches in Ward 5, the Bridge at Bear Creek, Lakewood's Vineyards Church, Westwood's Community Church, and Comunidad Cristiana Colorado River Church, who not only sent an army of individuals this weekend to do some of these service projects across our city, but also got together on Sunday morning to unify as one and to send prayers up in support of our leaders and our community right now as we need it so much. So I want to say thank you to all of those churches that also, again, came together, and that power of collective impact is just really unspeakable. So thank you everybody who did that, for ServSpot, all of our individuals that are involved with ServSpot Lakewood that put on the event, and we will be back next year. And my encouragement for our churches when I joined them on Sunday morning was, let's look at Love Lakewood Day and make it Love Lakewood Year. How can we show up and do things across our community to help someone feel loved every single day of the year? So I would send you out with that challenge this evening. And with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn us at 9:32.